Are we live?
We are live. I'm waiting for YouTube to catch up, but it takes a second. All right, everyone. Welcome to the stream. We'll give people a few minutes to come on in. You know the you know the drill. And if you can on your way in, put where you're watching from. I've been surprised how many people are watching from overseas.
Interesting.
It's almost 50% in some cases.
You have 50% overseas audience? That's pretty wild.
Yep. And then if you guys can also, make sure you fill out that poll on the way in. And yes, I see some comments. I'm not playing music today. Maybe some copyright issues. Estonia.
Oh yeah, I don't know if my chat if I don't know if you'll be able to see Trigger's polls or not. Not sure how that works while we do a live stream.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You would think they'd be able to, but who knows, maybe not. Because I don't think I can do a poll. Wait, maybe I can do a poll.
You can on your side.
I can on what was the poll? What'd you do?
So the poll is, which do you believe more, official narrative or Jon Bray's Mike theory?
Oh, we did this poll when I did Jon's episode, and it was, I think it was 85% believe Jon's theory over the official narrative, maybe higher.
Wow.
We did it at the end of the episode too, after I covered everything. We'll put it up here for those of you who've seen the episode that we did. Jon's Cash Patel's.
Go, John. God bless you. Watching from Scotland.
Scotland.
Arkansas. Razorbacks, huh? All right. So we are quickly approaching 2,000. So we'll go ahead and get started. And yes, people have noticed I'm doing kind of like a Baron-esque little monologue. I kind of like it. I don't know if I'll keep it or not, but we'll see how it goes. All right, welcome to TriggerSmart and Valhalla Multistream. Today we're examining the exploding mic theory on Charlie Kirk's death from researcher Jon Bray. He alleges that a rigged wireless Rode mic under Charlie's shirt detonated and launched a circuit board into his neck or some other kind of shrapnel, and that explains the rectangular wound, which we'll look at without blood, the corticate posture, and scene chaos. This is also backed by software mapping of the energy disbursement seen on video and also some testing. So first we have Jon Bray here. He's on the bottom. And then former Green Beret Valhalla VFT, who brings elite military expertise in tactics and real-world scenarios. So we'll do Q&A at the end, most likely, and anyone who does super chats will be prioritized. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, I thought it would be cool to kind of start this off with some information that I found the other night. And it's basically more pieces that kind of support this theory, and then we'll actually go into the debate. And obviously, if this is your first time here and you haven't seen Valhalla before, make sure you go subscribe to Valhalla VFT on YouTube. And then Jon Bray is also on X. All right. Let me share this screen.
Well, thanks for the kind words, man.
You are very welcome. All right, here we go. So this is kind of just, this is a comedian. And he's kind of saying how P. Diddy and Erica have some commonalities.
How Diddy acts after that, and it's just so sinister because right after that he launches his own album, and suddenly he's mega famous and he's dancing at the MTV Awards. Like, you know, you've seen those videos, right? Can you even fathom like losing the person most important to you in your life, and then within weeks you're already in the spotlight, launching your solo career, you're back in the studio, building off of the glamour that the person with you attracted this whole time. You're even meeting the president. Can you imagine anyone doing anything like that in September of 2025? Can you imagine?
Are you a hot sleeper?
Uh-oh.
Do you find yourself?
I'm not a hot sleeper.
You don't have premium, dude?
I do, but not on that account. So it happens only when you're live. All right. So now this is another interesting piece, and hopefully you can see this, but this would be to Charlie's left side. And where these arrows are pointing, at the moment of impact, whatever hits him, there are two black specks of glass or plastic or something that are in the air. And there's a video that shows it, but you have those, and then you have these pieces, there's like 3 or 4 different pieces that are falling down that are black specks, same time, and that's behind him. Remember, the back of his shirt bulged out too. And then we have, see if I can pause it at the right spot. It shows very clearly something pretty sizable right there. You see that?
Yep.
So
Now
that's at the moment.
Sorry, there's also the one Baron and Ian were showing of like something just like that, like also almost looked like it was falling from above as well, right?
And that might be the same piece because it was basically behind him from the tent, or I guess they said it hit the tent and came back down. So, but you have that.
That makes sense, actually.
And then this is kind of the same one. It's really hard to see in this one, but it's the same specs that are flying past that hat. So that's more things that are kind of supporting. But I also went, and we'll talk a little bit more about this too later. But this is just showing that, you know, same candy that's in the car. But what I want to show you is Charlie's pants. There's this piece of glass or plastic or something that's down on his thigh. And if you remember, he's holding the microphone down between his thighs. And when the explosion goes off, the alleged explosion goes off, it would push stuff down into his thighs, right?
Yeah.
And then we have pieces on the ground back here. This is after. Is George.
That's where he got. That's where he got drug over that area, right? Or he got carried over that area.
Yep, exactly. And then George Zinn's like, I shot him, right? Trying to distract. But there's these pieces on the ground over here. One definitely looks like black plastic. The other one, I'm not quite sure. And then we have same thing here. We have that spot on his pants. It looks like it's plastic or glass or something. And then there's also this piece down here, down below him. Same there. Make sure I got them all. Now, this is interesting. This is one of his security guys that was carrying him. Actually, the main one carrying him. And it looks like, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like a piece of glass or plastic that's sticking to his arm.
Yeah, he's the one that had Charlie up, one arm up underneath Charlie's neck and another arm down below Charlie underneath his lower back.
Yep.
Which would actually, is that his left arm?
Yes. Yep.
So, okay, so that left arm would have been up underneath Charlie's lower back, which would have been essentially where shit could have fallen out of his t-shirt as he was carrying him there.
Yep,
if it's his left, okay, this is his left arm.
Now, just real quick in chat, if like I said, I'm not 100%. So if you think this is plastic or glass that might be from the mic, put a 1 in chat. If you think this is just grass or something else, put a 2. I'm interested because I've seen this a million times and I'm still not sold 100%, but I'm interested to see what you guys think.
I can tell you that glass on the front of that mic is sharp. I cut myself popping the mic apart. So it could have been some glass stuck to his shirt that actually caused a little cut on his arm.
Yes.
Looks like
now,
what's on his watch here? Just
I think that's some blood smear.
Yeah.
But these
it does look like he's cut up though. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like abrasion.
So now if there were more pieces on his back, like you were saying, Valhalla, then that might make sense. He got cut up as he was carrying him. He had all that weight and it was rubbing around.
Yeah. Because I did a bunch of content on that. People tried to say he was the one who got down and buried his hands in Charlie Kirk's neck. And I did a video debunking that no, that's not true. He was the one that was carrying Charlie, again, one arm up underneath his neck, one arm, his left hand on his lower back, where you would expect anything that would be falling out of the shirt would be on that arm, if that's were to be what it was.
So it looks like the audience is about 50-50 on if it's grass or glass. Okay, not too bad.
Hard to tell.
Yep. All right, so and then really quick, especially John. So you remember Callie Kukul, the one that had the pendant theory on my channel? Still don't know who this person is, have no idea who they are. There's this black piece that this person originally thought was like the entry wound, right? They were thinking like a shot from the back. And now that they've heard your theory, they might think that this is possibly
that's not an entry wound. You wouldn't even be able to see it in his hair.
Okay, so that rules that out.
Yeah,
so
that's definitely not an entry wound.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not sure what it is, but you wouldn't be able to see an entry wound from a high-powered rifle in Charlie Kirk's hair like that with that low fidelity. You wouldn't even be able to see it.
Okay. And then next we have this is interesting. I don't know if you can explain this, John, but so say this is right after he gets hit, right? This is like when the event happens. and there's like this sharp edge, right? This whole thing puffed out, and originally people were like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe it's from the gunshot, right? The cavitation, but like you said, you've already said this, Nate. It
It's
wouldn't
not
go that far.
cavitation. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. That's not
So-
cavitation.
So now, John, do you have an explanation for what you think might have happened here? Along
This
with
is
your
the
theory?
most bizarre frame. This video in particular was shot at 30 frames per second. Cubs, which was like Cub was probably, I don't know, less than 10 feet to the left of this guy that was Mark that shot this video. His video was at 60 frames per second, and you only see a blur of it in Cub's video. How like it had to be just so fast that the shutter speed difference between Mark's camera and Cub's camera was able to capture a single frame of it. It's only a single frame. So the only way I can explain it is the expansion gas, where it's just the gas basically stretching that collar out. Kind of what you see from the UVU angle, where it just looks almost fake, where his collar's all blown out and everything. And particularly this video, the shock waves that you see go across his face. I mean, like, look at his neck and his hairline, like everything. His whole flesh is like deformed from the shock wave that goes up. When I first saw it, I was convinced it was fake. But then I looked at Cubs video, and frame to frame, everything's the same. The only thing that Cubs video doesn't capture is the big shirt hump. But if you look really close at Cubs video, you can see just the ghost of it, where it's like he was catching it. His video was either catching it on the way out or the way in. So whatever it was, it had to be so fast that, it was in between the shutter speeds of two cameras, one camera at 60 frames per second. So it's like, the only way you can really explain it is a high explosive that just has, a shock wave that's so fast that it's just going to cause that shirt to blow out and spring back.
Now, could it be possible that there's a piece of shrapnel hitting this just based on the shape of it?
Yeah, it's possible. That case, you basically have like the back of the case is a solid like a dish, right? It's a rectangular dish. So all the edges of it are going to be blown in all different directions. The face of the case is going to be blown off. The face of the case was facing like his flesh. So that's going to be like blown it across and more like towards the front of his shirt. And I think that's what ended up coming down the front of his shirt more and caused the cuts and black specks on his hand. And I think the bigger portions of the case ended up going kind of in all directions. And that's what we see.
Oh,
Got
that's
him up
weird.
there.
Yeah, exactly that right. His hand was down in between, underneath his, basically in his crotch area. And if you look at my maps, you can see the shirt raise up right around the crotch area, right? For less than 4 frames in between the first movement. So I think all the debris kind of like blew out, and that collar lifted up, and the debris that, that didn't go this way, that went down, kind of like hit his hand. And that's what we're seeing, either debris that caused tiny abrasion or actually stuck to his hand.
Which also makes me think that's why there's maybe a piece of plastic or glass on his leg, that one that I showed a few times, because it's in the same position basically.
Yeah. And if you look at the table next to like the blood splatter on the table, there's some hunks of plastic on the table too in front of the blood splatter, which would line up kind of in that same trajectory. If it fell in between his legs, it would be in front of the blood splatter that came out of his neck.
Now, for anyone that's watching this, we're not going to show any gore. Like, it's not going to be like, we're not going to show anything that's going to get us, dinged on YouTube. And YouTube, we're just showing some clean pictures. So we appreciate you not demonetizing. Thank you. Let's see. All right, now this is the last thing for both of you, actually. Oh, wrong side. Let me come over here. All right, so this was something else Kelly Kuko pointed out. For only one frame, I think it's a 30-frame video. There's one frame where his neck and his jaw and everything completely, I mean, it looks like someone put like a super high power, like blower on his neck or something. At the same time, the chain's snapping.
This is the 60 frame per second video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would this be consistent with that type of situation that you're talking about?
Yeah, there's the shockwave. It's the speed of the explosion is what, that's where it really threw me off about a lot of the videos. You see inconsistencies in between videos, and it's because it was just so fast. The expansion was so fast that it was actually in between shutter speeds of the different videos. So, I was looking for consistency between videos. And so I actually dismissed a few of these videos as being like altered or artifacts. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized it was probably just the split second or microseconds difference between the shutter speeds of the different cameras, able to capture different frames.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, do you agree in general with that, Nate, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell right here. I mean, especially from this angle, is this cavitation that we're seeing from, you know, whatever has hit him? It's one of those things, just frame by frame, that's really hard to see. My question for
the wave is really what gets me. If you watch the video, you like see it wave up his cheek. You know, like the soft,
and you almost see his like
fatty
hairline
tissue.
get pulled back as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Which is, again, it's bizarre to me. Like, this is not what you would see from a 30-06 wound. Like a 30-06 wound from 139 yards hitting him in the neck is not going to create. It's going to create way more cavitation than this, for one. And like, this seems minimal to me for the type of round the official narrative is saying. And obviously the damage from behind, there is no damage from what we can see. It's bizarre to me. I would say for Jon, do we think because we do see cavitation in the neck for sure. Can that be explained by that frag that's coming up? Is there, I mean, it's obviously enough force that it's blasting into his neck and creating, you know, it punctures enough to get through either the jugular or the carotid. Is it enough impact force to also create cavitation? I mean, it looks like it would be a big piece of shrapnel, but is it moving fast enough? It'd be hard for me to tell.
It's either one of two things. It's either the battery or the magnet clasp. And you see they're very similar in shape. This is around 10 grams. This is almost 7 grams. I'm leaning more and more every day towards the battery because the battery was connected to the circuit board, which we see the circuit board is what caused the shirt to lift. And you can almost see the shape of it, right? That's weird square shape when it goes left. Like you can see the outline. And if you notice on my shirt, it shows you the trajectory of the movement, right? As the fabric stretches towards it. So if you kind of like look at the deformation of the shirt and you look at the possible fragmentation that would have been traveling with that circuit board, I think the most likely object that could have caused that neck wound would be the battery. And the fact that it all happens in one frame, we're looking at 350 feet per second to 600 feet per second, and so that's like medium velocity territory. So it's not.
Yeah.
To me, it never looked like a supersonic cavitation because it was it wasn't omnidirectional. It was very like you can see it almost bulge on his neck. It's like it bulges this way. It has a very directional, kind of shape to it. And then the delay, it's from the shirt blocks when we don't see the wound first hit, right? The shirt's up, but then when we first see the wound, it takes 0.44 seconds for it to actually start to erupting in blood. And that doesn't really line up with a high velocity impact, especially in that area. And we don't see. We see carotid bleeding, right? The carotid bleeding would be pulsating. We saw jugular bleeding. That was blood draining from his brain. That we didn't see the heart pulsing with it. It wasn't bright red. It wasn't oxygenated. That was deoxygenated blood returning out from his brain. Not as much pressure as the actual artery would be. So it's that leads me to believe because the jugulars is closer to the outside. And that muscle, I forgot what it has a long name, but it has an acronym. But basically that muscle, when you flex your shoulders in, you see like his whole body kind of like do this, like he's shrugging, and when you do that, it creates almost like a hammock, that muscle that comes diagonal across your neck. And I think it was just enough to catch the edge of that battery. And that's what really like set it in. And that's kind of the motion you see. You see how it's like a bulge on the side of my neck and you see the outline kind of push out. That's what you end up seeing. And it takes like 2 frames for it to completely reach its peak and then come back. So that matches like a medium velocity impact. And then the penetration depth would only be like 3 centimeters. If it went any deeper, it would have got the artery. Like we would have been seeing heavy bleeding. So, it couldn't have been that fast. It was literally just fast enough with the right angle that it, you know, kind of captured in that muscle of the neck and punctured in. And then because it wasn't that deep, kind of when he falls out or relaxes, it pushes out. So, you know, we see the wound. It takes a full second for the wound to really start to bleed. And you almost see it bleed around the projectile. And then once it really starts to gush out, you see that rectangular shape in this image right here. You can see it really well. Hard right angle from two different camera angles. You can see this object fall to the ground, and then the heaviest bleeding follows that. So again, that leads to like something plugging that wound for a little bit. And then as soon as the plug comes out, the blood's free to just flow, you know, unobstructed.
Yeah, I just want to make sure with what we're looking at here. So this is the head. And then this is the fluid. We'll say fluid for YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And then this is the shape that his mapping software found coming back out with the fluid. So this rectangular square shape. So obviously we can't show the gore and stuff on here, but this is a representation of what he sees and what comes out. And if you go to X, you can see this in real time. Other people have said they saw something shiny, maybe. I don't know if you've seen that, John, but it's very interesting.
Yeah,
So
the shiny part made me reevaluate it being the magnet. That was my first indication that it may have not been the magnet, because the magnet's covered in rubber, like it's flat black. Seeing it shine at one angle for a little bit, it kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't really know what to think about that, but then I realized that the battery has like a foil side, so it's flat black on one side and foil on the other. So that made a lot more sense.
Cool. Nate, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is the most compelling part about the entire theory is that, let's call it the ballistics. It's not ballistics if it's an explosion, but everything John just talked about is 100% true. Nothing, when we compare to the official narrative of a 30-06 round, anatomically, we are not seeing what a high-powered rifle round would do to Charlie Kirk's neck there. You wouldn't, a high-powered rifle round, especially a 30-06, it's traveling at 24 to 2,700 feet per second with insane foot-pound pressure, 2,400 foot-pound pressure. When it hits that neck here, it's going to, probably rip off, you know, an entire section of Charlie Kirk's neck, but it's going to happen immediate. If you watch any ballistic testing, the second that 30-06 round hits flesh, it explodes. And to John's point, we see no atomized blood, which you would typically see from a high-powered rifle round, where that's going to hit and it's going to create what we call pink mist, right? Because it's that force and that pressure is so hard when it's hitting the blood, you're actually going to see it explode out in pink mist, whereas you don't see that. You see this big delay, almost a second before any blood ever comes out of his neck. Like, that is not a normal entrance wound from a high-powered rifle round. It never made sense from the beginning for it to be a 30-06 or any really supersonic high-powered rifle round. Just the anatomically, it's not what we would expect to see. Not just the no exit wound portion of it, but the idea that, again, he gets hit in the neck because you see his entire body rock begins to fall. Then you have that explosion of blood. I mean, I can't really explain that with a typical high-powered rifle round. It's not what you would see. And so if it's not a high-powered rifle round, how else do you explain it? I think this is, again, one of the most compelling parts of John's theory is what he's talking about very easily could have created those anatomical effects that you're not going to see with a super high-powered rifle. So, I mean, I don't have any pushback on that at all for that one.
Now, just to be clear, there is some pushback and some questions. So we agree. I say we, but Nate agrees on most of it, but he had some really good questions in his last stream when he covered this theory, which is why I brought him on. So obviously I can ask John questions all day, but I'm not going to think of everything. So having Nate here kind of fills that void as well. Let's see if I have anything else I want to show before we jump in. Okay, yeah, let's show this really quick, and then we'll start getting into the actual like digging in deeper. All right, so John, did you want to talk about this at all?
Yeah, so this has been kind of like making it work to me is like the most important thing. Figuring out, you know, not only the theory of it, but like putting it into a functional, you know, a full functional device is key to me. I want to see this thing work. So I leaned on fundamentals of shape charges. It's kind of like the Bible of shape charges. I took all the data that I could extrapolate from the different video angles and my mapping of the speed and the approximate energy we kind of see displaced and the directional nature of it. And, basically ran the formulas and figured out the basic size that the charge would need to be. And then I actually bought the actual microphone that Charlie wore that day, so I could see how much dead space was in the microphone. Like electronic, especially consumer electronics, there's always like wasted space. Right? They make the case far bigger than it needs to be. And so getting the actual device was key for me to get the dimensions necessary to see what type of modifications had to be made to it. And basically it's the circuit board and the battery take up majority of the space. The rest of the components are really small. So the only thing that would be necessary to be able to fit the shape charge that you would need to create what we saw would just be reposition the battery slightly and remove some of the rubber spacing. So there's like a large rubber spacer in there for sound dampening and to keep the circuit board from, touching the other components. And so you just trim 4 millimeters off of it, slide the battery down some, and then the shape charge fits in there perfectly. The only thing I have to figure out now is the direction of the shape charge, which way it was pointed. But that's just going to take some testing. I'm running the simulations now. I have to do them in 2D. My computers aren't powerful enough to run the 3D simulations, but it's largely like a very directional explosion. So it's accurate enough that I can get a good idea of which direction it was facing. And, that positioning of it also explains, the fragmentation and the circuit board that we saw, the trajectory of the circuit board and the battery. Basically, they're going to be on the back face of the charge. So the wasted energy of the charge, 90% of the charge goes through the face of the microphone, the glass, face that we see fragmented. And that's against Charlie's chest. And then the kind of equal and opposite waste energy of the 10% that doesn't get put into that jet is displaced into the remaining of the case. And that includes the battery, the circuit board, and the actual outer case which is ABS plastic, which is the larger fragments that we see everywhere. And so that is responsible for the trajectory, the energy we see displaced in the shirt, and then obviously the fragmentation of the main case and the power that launched the circuit board and the battery across his chest.
All right. So for people that are in chat, they're asking, so what is the red and what's the blue?
The blue is just a part of the actual components. The red is the actual shape charge. So it's just it's a cylinder with a charge at the end of it, and it has a cone. And the idea is that it uses the Moreau effect, where you're basically taking an explosion and you're instead of allowing it like a traditional frag was going to go radially, it's going to explode in all directions. This is channeling all that explosion into a stream. So it gives it a path to escape, but it's a narrow path that cones out. And so as it speeds up through this cone, it's basically like a nozzle. It's going to start to pull material from the cone, and that adds like aggregate to the jet stream. And that's what gives it its penetrating power. So it's either, I'm leaning towards that it was probably a polymer cone or a PTFE cone, just because it would have been the most compact. The copper cone would have taken a little more space, and it would have been easier to detect. So the copper cone would give you a higher velocity and deeper penetration, but the PTFE or the plastic cone would be able to give you a wider spread. And I think that kind of explains why we see more of the energy displaced in the shirt and around the device, because it wasn't as optimally designed as it could be, right? They had limitations to be able to fit it in there. So that's why we see the fragmentation, the trajectory of the circuit board and the battery and the shirt blowing up. If they could have designed it the way they wanted to with no space limitations, it would have barely even moved the shirt. Like, you could get really high efficiencies with really well designed shape charges, especially this is going to be less than 2 grams. So it could be very efficient in its delivery of that jet. And with flesh, it's usually these are made to penetrate,
Tanks.
armor, hard structures, right? So
Yeah.
flesh is like easy work for it. So it doesn't have to be that powerful to penetrate deep enough to cause mortal wound.
And for people who haven't seen this before, the actual, I don't know, what is it, plasma or whatever actually comes out, is coming out of the small end.
Yeah.
So it's like it's directing it through that direction to the right.
Yep.
All right. And then one thing that's interesting, and actually I'll save that until we start the debate. All right, cool. All right. So that's everything I have personally. So Nate, if you want to start on your questions and your testing of the theory.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's always the one I was just thinking about is I like theories that are not complicated, right? Me and Trey were talking about that. The more people that are involved, the more people have to coordinate, the less likely I like the theory, just because tactically, when you're on the ground and you start doing things like this, it gets super, super complicated if you got a lot of people involved. So and these are just questions for John. I'm not trying to sharpshoot, but how do you think, or who in places this? It has to be somebody at TPUSA. Is it a security guard? Like who's getting a hold of this microphone? How are they? I don't know if they're swapping it out. I mean, I do like the idea that this is kind of a set it and forget it, much the way that the Israelis did with the pagers, to where months later you can just activate this thing when you want it to. But what's your thoughts on who sets this thing up, right? Like who's making sure Charlie is the one that has this on? Like how do they, how does it get in place? What's your thoughts on that, John? I don't want you to accuse people of murder,
right? I'm not
but
gonna name names or anything, but I've had to train people for complex tasks, and just like you said, the less people involved in a task, generally the more likely you're going to have success. The more people involved, it's just the chain of failure increases. So in thinking this out, I always thought about that. Like they would want to reduce the amount of people, the liability, right? You don't want unnecessary people involved. You wouldn't want to have to trust. So that immediately sent me to that it was probably acoustically triggered, that, you wouldn't bank on someone sitting there watching Charlie, listening for the rifle shot to time it. Like you would either want the guy that makes the shot to set it off with the rifle shot, or have the actual device set off by the percussion of the shot, or the sonic sound of the projectile passing by. As far as like setting it to load the device, it could be at an airport anywhere. Like it could have been a party not even involved in TPC UCA, but I like to think that it was probably, if it was me, I would want someone on the audio team, because you want it placed in a certain way, right?
Right.
And I found the way that they placed that mic that day was a little peculiar. It wasn't like they normally place it. It was kind of a weird placement. It's like below his collarbone and set up on its side. If you look at his other, I went through all the different events and kind of like saw the evolution of how they mounted the mic. And it was unique in the way they did it. And then if you look at the actions of the audio team, they're a little suspicious. The one guy looks away right before the explosion goes off, and then the other audio guy is the guy that goes and runs behind the concrete wall and says, "Charlie's dead. They shot him.
You're not wrong there."
So it's like it didn't really like give me a lot of confidence that they didn't have anything involved with it. Just the fact that if you're a friend of Charlie, you're gonna want to hope that he was alive. They saw him for maybe a split second after the rifle shot before they ran off, and he's already concluded that Charlie's dead, that they shot him. And then the one guy was, all his other productions where they're doing these type of Q&A things, the audio guy's standing up and he's right by Charlie. That day he's like ducked behind the table, the whole time. And then right before it goes off, he literally like tucks his head down, like he didn't want to see, like he couldn't bear to watch. So, just the actions of those two led me to believe that they at least had some knowledge that something was going on with the audio of it. And then the audio team today, there was just weird audio things going on that day. They were doing adjustments to the speakers. There were some weird things going on with the audio. It wasn't a normal AV day for that type of event. So at least they had some knowledge of it. And if anybody needed to be in the know of, that was going to happen, they would be the ones, right? Because they're putting a mic on them. They would need to make sure it's in a certain position to be able to ensure that the device would deliver the charge, because it's absolutely directional. So, you just can't willy-nilly put it on him. It could just shoot across his shoulder or something,
Right.
So
Yeah.
that led me to believe that at least those two involved. And then obviously you have the person that made the shot. So I would say that you would have to have at least 3 parties involved, plus the party that planted the explosive, which could be anywhere, anytime. The device would work perfect. It could have been months in advance that they planted it. So I would say that. And we know that there's operational leakage, right? We had the old man Zim. We had, there was other parties involved. You had the skinny kid in the assassin suit walking around with the rifle sling in his bag. Like, there was obviously that they put noise in the crowd just to give people things to look at and, chase who was the shooter. So that led me to believe that, there was obviously somebody had pre-knowledge. And if somebody had pre-knowledge, it couldn't have been just a lone guy that decided he was going to travel to UVU and shoot Charlie that day, because you can't explain the old man, the skinny assassin kid, and the weird actions of the AV team with that explanation. So, I don't like even that many people being involved, but I think that's a workable amount of people that you could probably pull it off. And we'll see if that time I tell, that they're not going to get better acting. You know what I mean? They're just going to get more suspicious acting as the pressure gets put on them. So we'll see how those two continue to act as time goes on and people continue to question this event. If they continue to act suspicious or if they come out and try to clear their name, we'll see.
Well, everybody's definitely continuing to act suspicious.
Right.
There's no doubt about that.
It's not helping my suspicions. Yeah. And then Brian, that security guard going on and like trying to pass the buck to the UVU police and everything when it was pretty clear.
We did. Yeah. We criticize him viciously for that. I do want to ask you though, because that brings it into the security, talking about the actual shape charge itself. Because as far as I understand it, right, is your theory is the directional shape charge itself is hitting Charlie essentially in the chest and the sternum, and it's the frag from basically the housing mechanism exploding, causing frag to the neck. Would you expect, because now that we have, and this is something we didn't have when I covered it before, and I wanted to ask you about, if you can pull up the pictures from behind Charlie, would we expect, and again, when it comes to IEDs, I know a lot about IEDs, but not pocket-sized IEDs, right? So a shape charge in a tiny little housing mechanism, I don't know the real damage of what this would do. Would you expect this? Because now we know it didn't blow through his sternum, through his back, and then out of his back, right? We can see that whatever the shape charge may have been, at least, I don't know, maybe it's not high enough up on the chair enough, but we don't see like an exit wound through. Would we expect something like that with something that small? I mean, again, I this is outside of my realm of expertise for a tiny IED like this.
Yeah.
But what would you think? I mean, would we expect to see full through and through for something like this? Because it doesn't look like we have that.
Yeah, I think if it was fully efficient, it would have been full through and through. I think the reason we don't see an exit wound is because it hit him diagonally, so it traveled kind of across his chest instead of like straight through and through like a linear path. And the fact that it was inefficient for the size that they had to fit it into the case. And I think that's why it was important for the audio team to place it in such a way that directionally it was kind of faced towards his heart. And I think that explains his physical reactions too. And the blood didn't really seem to have he stopped bleeding too early, even with the jugular. He should have bled longer than he did.
It looked like the blood already evacuated his body within about 3 seconds, and his heart stopped.
I think his heart was his upper chambers of his heart, I think, were impacted by the shape charge. So it was just enough to penetrate diagonally across his chest and kind of hit his upper chambers of his heart. And the shock wave was enough to damage his midbrain and his brainstem. And that's why we have the doll eyes. That's why we have the decorative posturing, and that's why we have the weird bleeding, where the bleeding was not heavy enough and a shorter duration. Like, he wasn't bleeding on the way to the truck really. It was just dropping. It was like gravity.
And there's no blood on, I mean, we covered this extensively. There's no blood on any of the security guards' hands. There's no blood on the grass. There's hardly any blood. And I can tell everybody here that I've treated real gunshot casualties in war, and regardless of what people want to tell you, there's far more blood than you can possibly fucking imagine, especially from a jugular or a carotid injury. So the idea that we just saw one big splurt of blood, There's no blood on the ground, the chairs. There's hardly any blood on Charlie or anybody. That never made sense for a high-powered rifle round wound to the neck or carotid or jugular to begin with. Like that never made any sense. And so I do like that about your theory, but I'm going to push you a little bit on this one, because if we're under the assumption that it's designed to hit him in the chest, right? And then we have basically, I guess you would call it an accident, right? Is that what you're thinking, John? Is like they're not expecting for this to hit him in the neck, but once they do, now it's kind of like, well, we need an explanation for that. Then I think this does, though, start to add more people involved, because when the security guards, like Brian Harpool, as he gets down on there, and they would have seen, right? Like, hey, this dude's got a concave chest or a big wound to the chest, and also has this. We haven't heard anything from them. But wouldn't they then be involved too? Wouldn't Brian Harpool and the other security guards, and then potentially the coroner, the police, isn't everybody start to be involved if there's like a cover up of the wound to the chest?
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's why I went into the forensics of it. Like, what exactly would this wound look like? And a shape charge impact to the upper sternum. I kind of like ran the calculations of it and went through, forensic data. Obviously, you don't have examples of it, but they can give you a pretty good idea of what it would look like by the energies involved. And it's a really small, clean entry wound. So, it doesn't, it would
may not even see it at first if you were to be checking him.
It would actually be easier to overlook because of the gruesome nature of the neck wound. And it's close enough to the neck, upper sternum to the neck. You're like, they could say it was fragments, or that the bullet bounced off his spine and came out there. Even at the people as trained as the EMTs and the trauma techs, if he didn't have a neck wound and they only saw that wound, they would be like, well, he got shot in his chest. And it's just a really clean wound. It didn't cause that much damage. So to your point, it is really hard for them to overlook the fact that there's two wounds, right? Why wouldn't anyone mention that there's two wounds? But all the information that we've gotten about like the medical examination, it's all been so convoluted and confusing and almost like misinformation in some periods, especially right away. Like we heard about a chest wound at first, the massive damage to his chest, and then the gruesome wound. Like they talk about a gruesome wound. I didn't really consider the neck wound that gruesome. Like it was gruesome in the blood.
Not from what you would expect from a 30-06 round.
Right. Like he should have had a hunk of flesh missing. That would have been gruesome. That would have been what you would expect. So the internal damage is the majority of the damage that the shape charge is going to cause, just because it's so fast. It basically liquefies anything it touches. So it pierces the skin. It leaves a clean, almost cauterized wound. But as it gets inside, it's sending bone fragments like shrapnel around. It's turning flesh into liquid. It's sending a shockwave all around the body. And I think we see that through like those higher quality angles. You see his whole body jolt, his hair moves, his ring falls off his finger. Like that shockwave traveled through his whole body. And that never made sense to me. Like we should see the shockwave center around the neck, and we see it all over, especially on the side of the face, the opposite side where he's impacted. So that kind of like immediately started leading me to figure out like what was in this area that was causing all that energy that we were seeing displaced. So, it's a great point. There has to be more people that had eyes on it. But I can tell you from working with the government, especially when you have like people of higher power when they come in, we had the vice president fly in, the amount of pressure they can put on you just in the words they use and the way they talk to you.
I did that for a career.
They let you know,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. I mean, they don't tell you directly, but they basically look at you and talk to you in a certain way that that they could end you if you cause problems for them. So, there's amount of pressure that those people must be under to just forget about it is probably huge. And like I said, it's easy mental gymnastics for them to be like, it was a powerful bullet. It hit here. Maybe it bounced off his spine and caused a wound here. Like maybe it hit something different. Maybe it was the necklace that it hit and caused a pendant. Like it's just a lot easier for them to forget about it than it is for them to cause a stink and maybe like ruin their whole life.
So I do think this is interesting because before we had any information, it was like day 1 or 2 when we were just watching footage. pretty much all of the special operators and Marine Scout snipers and everybody thought he had to have body armor on, because just basically watching it, and obviously, like, I did a video very early once we saw his nipples, and you're a body armor expert, right? Been wearing body armor for my whole career. I was like, he doesn't have body armor on, right? We could see it. Even the most minimalist body armor, you could still see. And not only that, but as you know, John, minimalist body armor is not stopping a 30-06 round to begin with, so it wouldn't have mattered. So we very quickly realized, like, okay, well, from everything we're watching, it looks like he got shot in the chest. Everything about the anatomical effects, when we watch his shirt lift up, almost the concaveness of his chest, everything signaled to us he got shot in the chest. It had to have refracted and come up and hit him in the neck. And then once that theory fell apart, we kind of were like hands in the air. Like, how the fuck do we explain any of these things going on with the shirt, with the chest concaving? And so, I mean, I do think your theory is interesting with that, because none of that we can really explain with a 30-06 round to the neck. I mean, why would we see, that massive concaveness, all that kinetic energy that you've shown in the chest, moving upward? None of that makes sense from a rifle round to the neck. I would assume, right? Like, not something I've ever seen before, where you're having all these massive effects in the chest because you got hit in the arm or the neck or the leg.
Yeah, so far from the impact, it just you can't
Right.
make sense of it. Like, the order operations doesn't make any sense either. Like, it should start here and then travel out, but we have it like almost the opposite. Like, it starts on this side and travels to this side. So it's like, that's what led to me. I thought he had a plate carrier on at first, but then you see the nipples. You know what I mean? It's just, none of it made sense. That's why I just couldn't leave it alone. So it drew me in the same way. Like, I immediately saw it. I saw a low resolution video. Honestly, I thought it was AI when I first saw it. I was like, oh, someone made a slop AI pretending to kill Charlie. And I looked at it closer and I was like, oh, Charlie had a plate carrier on, and it hit the edge and hit it, fragged up and hit his neck.
That's what we all thought.
And then I saw his nipples and I was like, okay, I knew he couldn't have an executive vest on. And like you said, an executive vest would have done nothing for the bullet. It would just right through it like that. The soft armor has no ability to stop a round with that much power. So
so real quick, I just want to do a excuse me, need to clear my throat. Just really quick, everyone watching, make sure you hit that like, and make sure if you're on my channel and you're not subscribed to Valhalla VFT, make sure you go over there and check him out. And Valhalla's audience, if you guys have any interest in
my audience, we got 6,000 people on my side. Get over there and follow and subscribe to TriggerSmart and John, by the way.
And John is on YouTube, but not as active. If you really want to get a hold of John, it's Jon Aaron Bray on X, and he's more than happy to debate you over there as well. All right.
I got a couple more that I wanted to ask about. The next one is going to be the gunshot, right? And the Patsy. Let's talk about gunshot and Patsy, because we know somebody's on the roof. Is it Tyler Robinson? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think we've seen any. For me, we've seen zero proof that whoever was on the roof ever brought a gun to the roof. 100%. No, there's still nobody has ever shown me anything that, especially a 30-06, right? Like, in the tiny little 20-inch backpack he has on, it's just not a thing. So I've never seen anybody bring a gun to the roof, maybe leave with one. I don't know. I still don't see it in that video. Some people swear they can, but we do hear what sounds like a supersonic high-powered rifle round. And again, it's hard to tell with phone audio, but it definitely is a gunshot that goes off. We definitely have someone on the roof, Patsy, be it, if it's not the shooter. What's your theory on how all that gets coordinated, right? Because you've got the actual device that he's got on that's going to kill him. Do you have the Patsy that's using blanks? Is he up there? Is he also taking a shot? What's your thoughts on that? Are they trying to use two different means of making sure that he gets killed? How is that involved? How do you time the gunshot to the device? You know what I mean? I'm sure you've talked about these before, but just for our own fidelity here.
It's a great question, and that's like the schematics of the event I was going over. Like, how do you make this work? Like, thinking like an operator. Like, how do I eliminate variables of failure, and I assure that I get my objective done, right? The objective is assuring that Charlie's dead, and ensuring that the Patsy is convincing enough that nobody questions it. So immediately you think that a trigger device, right? A detonation, that there's a trigger. The guy pulling his shirt sleeve, you know, the green shirt guy at first was like, oh, there's the trigger right now. And then you kind of examine it further, like, why would you have the trigger on the sleeve? So obvious. And then if you look really close at the timing, it's not timed correctly, right? It's just, and that got me thinking about, why would you even depend on a third party to be the trigger man, to wait until he hears the rifle sound? So, you know, that led me to look at, well, the device has a microphone. The device, that Rode Wireless Pro, happens to have millisecond timing capabilities, so you can sync it perfectly with a camera, right? Because like lag in between audio and video is a huge issue. So it has a special chipset on it that's made just to do that, right? It's made to give precise timing. So that led me to believe, well, they could time it off the rifle shot. But then you look at like, well, the sound's going to be after the bullet, right? The delay doesn't work. But you have a really unique sound pattern from the supersonic projectile. So as that bullet's traveling past, it's actually giving off its own sound wave. If anybody's ever been shot at, like, you think
snaps,
you think like there's the fastest mosquito ever passes by you, and then you hear fireworks. You're like, mosquito firework, and then you realize, oh, that was bullets flying past me. And you hear the bullets way before you hear the crack of the gun, and the crack of the gun's always way quieter than you expect. Outside of a 30-06, I live next to 10,000, you know, square miles of hunting land. And I know when someone shoots a 30-06, so my neighbor shoots a 308 all the time. When someone shoots a 30-06, that thing barks. It is so loud, like wah, wah, wah. The whole valley goes off with it. So, you know, that time delay between a high speed projectile like that, being able to have that microphone pick up on that very unique peak from that supersonic crack, you can have it delay that time. So if they have a predetermined distance, they know this shot's going to be taken from, which obviously they scoped the area. They know the rooftop that they're going to take the shot from. You could either use with a firmware, use the chip that's already on the microphone, or just add a little PCB board that has the set delay that, you know, piggybacks on the microphone when it hears that certain peak. And the reason I think that that's the most likely is because you have the least amount of false positives, right? To get a false detonation would be extremely difficult, because that's such a unique peak, that supersonic projectile. There's no way you're going to naturally run across that in an environment. And so, you know, once you trigger the thing, you know, the only thing that's going to be able to set it off is that supersonic projectile passing by them. And then also another thing that you just like, where does the bullet go? They have those fountains behind them. So, you know,
so you think he actually shot a real round?
I really do think that they shot a real round, and they just shot it into the fountains, because you wouldn't want the bullet to hit anything, right?
Or John, into the fucking ground, and then you just pave over it 2 days later.
Boom, there you go, right?
Well, and here's the thing. So
they did that.
Yeah. But the audio forensics guys, I've talked to 5 different ones. They all agree that there is 100% something broke the sound barrier in a supersonic manner that crossed the courtyard. So they all agree that there was definitely a shot of something.
Yeah, and you can hear from the different camera angles, like you can hear that crack snap delay. You know what I mean? Like you hear the crack of that supersonic crack, and then you hear the black powder sound from the rifle round. And you know that the difference of the sound, I feel like while the shape charge is a little bit louder than what the general sound of a 30-06 would be, it's super directional. And there was really nobody, the direction of that sound is going to be behind Charlie. And there was not a whole lot of people behind Charlie to really like.
It wouldn't be that loud though, would it? From a shape charge that small wouldn't
it
be
would be
that
like
loud.
a flashbang.
I mean, I think the people around him, people around him close would hear it, but
it would be like a flashbang. They would think it would be like a fire, sound like a big firework, like an M80. But it would give for the people that were like, particularly Cub and Mark's video, if you listen to the sound of those videos, like they're different than the other videos that are in front of Charlie. And I think that's kind of indication that, you know, it lends to that kind of proof that there was some acoustic sound coming from the charge, and you can hear the difference of it from the different angles. It's particularly the angles that are far away, like up on the balcony. The people that are actually closer to the rifle shot, it doesn't even sound as loud. You know, it sounds almost off. Like the people that are closest to Charlie, it's a lot louder, especially the people that are in front of the PA mics. Like for whatever reason, the sound's amplified through the PA microphone. So the people that record video that are like within eyesight of the speaker, they absolutely have the loudest rifle sound or the explosion sound, be it either one. So, you know, that lends me to believe that that microphone was catching the sound of that blast, right? Because the sound's that's the closest thing we have to it is the microphone, and the, you know, closer to any person around them. So, you know, the combination of the two angles that are to Charlie's right having a very like unique sound compared to the other recordings, and then the PA system amplifying it, led me to believe that, you know, that was what we were hearing. And that's why we have such, you know, the sound analysis is so noisy and sloppy on it. Not only the environment is really difficult because you have like huge concrete walls, a corridor, but you have two different sound, you know, sources that are kind of like merging into one. So, you know, it's you could have 10 different people look at it and they'll come with 10 different conclusions. It's hard to make any sense out of it.
Do you think you want to hear my theory? Like day 2, my theory was I when I looked at this and I was like, okay, this seems like a patsy. What I was like, you know, how would I do this if I wanted to kill Charlie Kirk and get away with it and use a patsy to do it? The way I thought about doing it was, okay, well, I'll have someone like Tyler Robinson and I'll set him up and I'll say, hey, what I need you to do, I need you to go and place your 30-06 in the chicken coop, so that way that the real shooter or whoever it is can come by, he can get it. The reason I do this is because I get Tyler Robinson or whoever, I'm going to sue Tyler Robinson, I can get all his DNA on everything. I can get his DNA on his rifle, all that, right? So I do think Tyler is a part of this. I don't think he's the shooter personally, but I do think he's involved in some capacity, him and Lance Twiggs. That's me personally. I haven't seen any proof that he's the shooter at all. But my theory was, well, hey, if I want a patsy, yeah, I'll set him up. I'll have him put his own rifle in the woods, right? Tell him he's going to help us out, have all his DNA on it, tell him to go to the roof and then be a spotter or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. Charlie Kirk folds, he gets killed. And then you see the guy on the roof, we see him jump up from that far away footage. We never see him carrying a rifle or anything like that. He takes off running, he bails. And now all of a sudden you have on camera what looks like somebody who takes the shot from the roof with a high-powered rifle round or high-powered rifle that's got the DNA on it. And now you pulled off your assassination. You got your patsy. I didn't have any theory for how Charlie would get killed in that situation, but I think you can put those two things together pretty easily if you have a way to kill Charlie in your example here to how you set him up as a patsy. I don't think that's that ridiculous. I just think it is hard to get the acoustics of it to all match to make it make sense. But again, to your point, like we never saw Tyler leave with a weapon. Like there's nothing that shows us he ever shot Charlie Kirk. But
yeah,
he was there. So
they have a camera that could show us him taking the shot.
100%. We do know
like
that.
Why hadn't they shown it? They show a dude just running off. And to your point, that's exactly how they would have set him up. And you see more operational leakage of it, of like the weird online postings that people making, like, oh, Charlie Kirk's going to die today or whatever. Or, you know, there's a guy that made it. So, you know, these young people, they gain confidence by thinking that they're part of a group. They're part of a larger conspiracy. They're not the worst actor. They're just a part of the bigger workings. Somebody else is going to do the worst of it. So, you know, it's very easy to give them the confidence to show up and, like you said, bring grandpa's rifle to think that somebody else is going to pick it up and take the shot. And he doesn't realize that he's just being set up the whole time. They get him to walk around the campus. And then, you know, did you place the item? All right, now I need you to go to the roof. He gets up on the roof and he hears a shot. He sees Charlie folds. And then what does he do? Like, he's stuck at that point. Like,
oh shit. Oh shit. So what happened? Easy. I need to get the fuck out of here. That's what he would say.
So easy to get some kid to do that, especially when he thinks he's a part of a bigger group, you know, and they're all working together and, you know, he's part of the team. Like, these especially kids nowadays, they're just looking to be a part of something, with a cause. So as stupid as the cause may be, it would be really easy to convince him to go up there and participate in it to the point where we could get enough evidence to send him to the firing squad in court.
Oh,
All right, so
what was I gonna?
I want to
Go
talk.
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I know you have this on your list too. Was the shirt like being ripped or torn or burnt and that kind of stuff? So I kind of wanted to touch on that. I know that was one of your specific questions, so I don't want to like steal that from you. But
no, you're good, man. I'll forget stuff. So go ahead.
I just want to show this. So this is this is like a somewhat type of charge, and I just want to show people this really quick so they can see it, and then we'll ask the question, the official question, if it'll play. Let me refresh it. All right, I'll move forward to the right spot. Okay, so now this is, I don't know about size-wise, how this would compare to the chart you're talking about, but this is typically what you would see, right? You'd see some flame, you'd see the cavitation and the effects of the explosion, and then you'd see some kind of charring after. And I just want to show the audience this really quick. And notice the pieces flying.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, look at that charring.
Yep.
So that's, and of course, to be fair, we don't have an autopsy. We didn't really see the body in great detail afterwards. But so I guess it was actually Valhalla's original question. And then I'm kind of adding on by showing this. Is how would you explain the shirt not being completely destroyed in one area or rip or torn, especially when the initial boom happens? And then how come there's no black on the shirt or anything like that? How would you explain that?
Yeah.
So real quick, John, for context of what my question was I'm not concerned about the directional portion of it. Like, yeah, that makes sense to me. It hits him in the chest. It goes through him. We're not going to see any damage to the shirt. It's the actual housing mechanism blowing up, that shrapnel, why we don't see potentially more damage to the shirt coming up from that frag. Right? Isn't that what we were talking about, TriggerSmart, in that? Or Matt, sorry. I don't know if I don't want to use your real name. Sorry if I just doxed you. Okay.
You don't know me. You don't know me as Matt.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that I went over and over trying to explain it. And I think that if you look at it, especially that was a high speed camera, and there was only flames for like a few frames of that high speed camera, and it kind of gives you an idea how fast that explosive burns and expands. And I think the reason that we don't see more damage to the shirt is that the case, the circuit board, and the components of the device were kind of dampening it. And then this is not a shaped charge, right? This is a direct, you see how it's a circle, all the energy is going out radially. So that shape charge is going to dampen it more. It's going to send it in one direction, but you're still going to have a tremendous amount of energy is going to be displaced. And I think that the reason we don't see the shirt get damaged or we see holes or charring on it is that the majority of the charring and the majority of the damage happen on the case. And I would say that we do see some charring displaced on the collar of his shirt from the circuit board. So if you watch and see that shirt raise up, and when it comes back down, before any blood comes out, you see black smudges on his shirt. So, I would say that while you don't see the charring on the area where the explosion happens.
Wow, that's weird right there.
You do see it on the transfer on the circuit board that goes across and, gets caught in his shirt. So the charring was minimal, but it's a small charge. And
do you think? Sorry, I don't want to.
The fragmentation.
I don't want to interrupt you, John, but I think it's real quick because I think it's really important. Do you think with all this frag and all this burning and all the stuff to his hands? Do you think this is why we saw in the casket what looks to be like fake hands?
Yeah, absolutely. That was just so weird. The orange skin, like Charlie didn't have orange skin, like he wasn't spray tanning.
Hands half the size of Erica Kirk's when he's 6'6".
And just the whole unnecessary nature of that whole shot, like it was so staged and so weird and awkward. Like I wouldn't ever want to be videoed while I'm grieving my husband,
Oh,
like
it's so
within
so gross.
48
That was so
hours of
creepy.
it. It's just, you know, with all the jewelry on and everything, it was more than awkward. It was just bizarre. And his hands were just not correct. Like you can look at them side by side. The scale of them were wrong. The skin tone was wrong. Like nothing was right about it. And I just passed it off at first, but now we see that he had damage to his hands that would be difficult to cover up, right? What's your ultimate solution? Well, you just do some dummy hands, like bring the Hollywood tech in and just, you know, put some, you know, fake cadaver in there. They don't show him that much. They just show his hands. Like it was just seemed scripted and it seemed really weird. But now we have an explanation of why they would have to do that. No, we have these videos of the actual trauma to his hands. Like we can understand why they would go through such efforts. And it's to displace, just like with the necklace. You know how they show the necklace and make the necklace a part of the emotional story, because they didn't want us to address the fact that the necklace was blown off his head. Because then you have to explain, how do you snap the necklace?
That's true.
And
We
blow
didn't
it
even
off his
talk about
head
that.
when he gets hit well above the necklace on the opposite side of his neck, and the necklace swings up and around the opposite side and then drapes over that side. Like none of it makes sense. If it did the other direction, like I could be like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But it's like the order of operations, how the energy gets displaced, like it's all backwards. None of it makes any sense. And then they try to cover it up with these emotional type things, you know, like the grieving widow holding the hand, the grieving widow holding the necklace out of the car. Like it just all becomes part of the narrative to make you not want to question these things, because
emotional blackmail.
Yep.
Photo ops. Yep.
With the necklace, great point. We didn't talk about that, John. This was another huge issue I had with. I mean, this has been my biggest issue from day one on my channel, has been the 30-06 story. None of it works, from the round to the exit wounds to the anatomical effects to the blood. But the necklace too, even the kinetic energy to the chest, none of it works. But the necklace was another one. At first I thought, okay, well, the cavitation in his neck expanded his neck out, and that's what snaps the necklace. But then I learned, like, he's wearing a loose necklace with a pendant way down here. And it's like his neck didn't expand out 3 feet. And so if he gets shot and in the necklace, it didn't get shot in the necklace. We know that the wound's up here. So if he gets shot in the neck by a high powered rifle, why is his necklace snapping off and flying behind his head?
Yeah,
that never made sense.
It snaps right below where the microphone is too. If you look at when it goes across his face on that the videos from the right hand side, you can see the end of it. It snaps, and it's like this long, and it has the shape where you can see the tension where it got pushed down and it breaks and it snaps up. You know, like cracking a whip. Right? It has that loop to it, and then, you know, these recent shots we have from the back, you see that it's draped over that shoulder. So it never raises, it never even really moves on this left hand side.
Can you pull those up, Matt? That back shot he was just talking about?
Yep.
So we have all the energy.
I don't think I've
from
seen
it.
that yet.
We have enough energy to snap it and send it up and over his head and around his body, but that energy's from this side. Like it wasn't from
that's
the
weird.
side. It's so strange. Like it's just beyond comprehension.
I've never seen that.
I thought originally that his shirt was lifted up on his face by the pendant, but when I realized that it wasn't the pendant, I saw a picture of the circuit board and I recognized that circuit board, you know, peeking out of his shirt. Then it was just like, there's no way, like none of it makes sense. You know, there was barely any energy displaced to the necklace on this side. All the energy happened on this side. And particularly that type of necklace is like a thick rope necklace. Like it didn't like something that's easy to snap. Like it would take a lot of energy, and it happens so fast. We don't even see a frame of it going from resting on his chest to like going past his face. It goes from resting on his chest to halfway off his head in a single frame of 60 frames per second. That's smoking fast. It's the fastest thing that I mapped on the whole, you know, from all the angles. It moves faster than anything else. So it had to have energy directly displaced to it. Like there's no way it could be a secondary event. That necklace was a first order event.
Could that have been what causes the blow up in the back of the shirt? The chain at all? Or no?
I think that it is the hump. I call it the humpback. I think it's gas. I think we see it out of the sleeve too on that one side. The sleeve raises up, and then we see it on the bottom of his shirt. I think the gas, when it blew the case out, the gas spreads radially across his chest, And because there's the shirt collar catches it here, it catches and pushes it back. Because if you see the arc of it, its peak is at the edge of the collar, and it's not like his flesh is moving it. Like there's a force that moved that shirt out. You know, it's almost like 4 inches out from the back of his neck. And the only way I can explain that is just rapidly expanding gas, because it happens so fast.
He had burns on. I haven't confirmed this, but supposedly he had burns on his chest in the area where that
under his nipple, under his
so
right nipple.
That you could very easily have that gas also be what burned him there.
Yeah, and then the abrasion from all the shrapnel. You know, that shrapnel is going to be blown in all directions. Like I said, that glass front, that stuff is sharp. You know, it's high speed, ejected in all directions. Anything it hits is just going to cause, you know, secondary abrasion cuts. And then the cavitation. If you ever seen, like, especially immediately after a rifle impact, you don't see it, but you know, 5-10 minutes afterwards, anywhere where the skin cavitated heavily, it causes like black bruising, and it'll just be, you know, it'll just turn black. By the next day, the whole area will be black. So, you know, I think that shockwave that we see travel through his body, I'd imagine anywhere we see that flesh move that rapidly, it's going to cause that sort of surface bruising where it looks like he's almost charred, where it's bruised so dark.
I want to tell a real quick story and this is kind of me debunking my own question for you, with how explosives work and how crazy frag works. A lot of people don't realize this. It's bizarre every time. A bunch of my teammates, in a near ambush we were in, were hit by grenades, and my teammate, who was actually there walking through a hallway, and there was two overhangs, and as they were walking through the hallway, they got grenades thrown on top of them into this little hallway, and blew the shit out of like 10 guys. 3 of my teammates got blown up. But my 18 Charlie, my senior engineer, was the first man in the stack and actually had a grenade land in between his feet, about a foot in front of him, landed in between his feet, goes off, blows up, blows his pants off, and just fragged the shit out of everyone behind him. He took 0 frag, and he was the front man that ate a grenade 1 foot in front of his face, and he took 0 frag, and everyone behind him and around him 8 frag. So, like, how can we explain that?
Yeah,
we can't. We have no idea how that happened or why that happened, but why did we see just some frag hit Charlie in the neck and not others go off his shirt? I don't know, but I can tell you that frag coming off an explosive can be very, very bizarre. And I've literally seen it with my own teammates. So,
did he have pressure wave damage though?
Oh yeah, he's super fucked up. They're all super fucked up. But he didn't take any frag. Everybody else took frag. He was the only one that didn't take frag, and he was the very first person. He basically ate the grenade. So just wild stuff, man, with explosions.
So someone said for you, Valhalla, Ian was on with someone the other day, and they found the contracts for a Shape the Charge 2. Did you hear about that?
Contracts? What do you mean contracts?
I think they're looking into contracts for like AES and other companies that are related, possibly.
Oh, like making them?
Yeah.
Yeah, micro shape charges in particularly.
Yeah, I'm not. Ever since we learned about the Israeli pagers, this theory became 1,000 times more credible, because we're like, oh, well, we've literally watched stuff like this happen at large scale. So that's why when I first heard this theory, I just immediately thought of the Israeli pagers, and I was like, okay, well, there's potentially a lot more possibility or plausibility to this than we may think, because it's already happened before. So.
All right, I'm just pulling up our other questions that we had. All right, let's see. And, you know, while we're waiting, make sure you guys hit the like, make sure you subscribe, check out Valhalla over there, check out Jon Bray on X. And if you have any interest in TriggerSmart, I'd love to have you subscribe over here as well. I'm just looking for those questions.
Let's put your YouTube channel up in mind while we're doing this.
All right. I'm just pulling up the email. We had a pretty good list of questions. I don't want to hit John too much, but I want to make sure we hit the big ones. And I think the shirt.
I think I got all my big ones out of the way.
Yeah.
Oh,
it looks like we might have hit. I think we hit them all.
My last one was coroner report, right? Like the autopsy. The autopsy, I guess, is probably going to be the biggest if we get it, or if we get a real one. You know what I mean? At this point, I don't have any faith that we're even going to get something real. Because, I mean, even the story behind that didn't make sense. Like, there supposedly was an autopsy, but he got ferried out by J.D. Vance the next morning, but then somehow was getting an autopsy done later that day. So who fucking knows? But I don't know. I guess we'll maybe find out. John, what's your thoughts on the autopsy?
I don't know. When you get the VP involved, it just, national security could get wrapped up real quick. Like, they could wrap that thing up tight. I think that's just another reason why you have such a high level involvement of the, he wasn't a politician. He was
immediately had the VP transferring his body 12 hours later,
ordering a rush autopsy. So it just sets up the narrative that they don't want that released for this, that, or the other reason. You know what I mean? It's just executive secrets. It's the amount of privilege that got involved as soon as the VP flies out is beyond what we'll ever be able to question. So I expect never to see the autopsy. If we do see it, it'll be some bogus doctored, watered down, redacted one.
Now, here's a good question for you. Good question. Would Charlie have died if the frag did not hit his neck? Both of your opinions?
He was dead. I think he was dead before the frag even hit his neck.
Oh, if John's shape charge theory to the sternum in his heart, yeah, he's fucking dead in almost immediately. He didn't need anything in his neck to kill him if that happened. I mean, it would stop his heart pretty. You put a shape charge through your sternum, you're going to be dead in what, 5 seconds?
Yeah.
There's no more blood going to your brain.
There's no recovery from that. And again, that's why they were so seconds after they were texting Erica that he was dead. He was shot. He's dead. Oh, they killed
that
Charlie.
One guy, like you said, the audio guy. Guy fucking immediately running around the corner. We did that on our show about how sketchy that dude is.
Yeah.
I've thought that dude was involved the entire time. I had no idea how, but just strictly by his actions and running around the corner and immediately saying they killed him, he's dead. It's like, but you didn't even see where he got shot.
Nope.
How he got shot. What if he got shot in the arm, in the stomach? Like how did you know?
Yeah.
You didn't even see him hit the ground.
All right. So if I went through all the questions that we talked about before, we've covered every single item. So unless you have anything extra, we can start going to Q&A.
I'm good, man.
All right. And this is my first time doing like the multi-stream with two of them. I think I can see when it's your super chat. It has a little link on it or something, right? So,
yeah. So mine will have like a little dash. Yours will have nothing.
Okay. All right. First one here. Mark Hateen, thanks for the super. If no gun, we need to put augmented PA theory on the table. Shot was composite, audio quantized, panned, and mixed by metadata-based immersive audio software. Latency-free signal to device. Reeks of 7th PSYOP group ties to TPUSA trying to reach out. If you need to...
I'm too stupid for that, so that's for John.
I think it's just really easy to fire a rifle off from cover. It would be, it would be, especially after the Butler event, they would have known how much audio scrutiny was going to be placed on the event. So, that's always led me to believe that they would have that high on the priority list to make the audio clean enough to convince people. But, and that may have been why they chose the area they did. Like you couldn't pick a worse place to try to do forensic audio analysis.
Dude.
It was like a big cone of
amphitheater.
Echo. Yeah, exactly. A theater is just, and it was just impossible to make sense of it. So
that's going to bounce off of each other inside that urban environment. Yeah, that's
every microphone is going to pick up something different. So it's going to be hard to make any sense out of it. I think they knew that, and that's kind of why if they planned it that well to plan a device, they would choose the area really carefully, and that's probably more than likely.
I just thought about this. What's your thoughts about the microphone exploding being a backup? What if he really did take the shot? I'm not saying it hit him, but the idea of like, hey, we want to make sure, like, hey, we set the Patsy up. The Patsy takes the shot. He missed. He's a dipshit 22-year-old kid, right? Yeah. Like people say it's an easy shot. It's an easy shot for a trained shooter. And you got to keep in mind, under extreme duress, it'd be in a shot someone like me could take because I've been under crazy stress. Also, like you potentially are going to get killed immediately after taking that shot. Like people don't really understand the amount of stress that shooter is under. But what if you know, the patsy is also like actually taking the shot, and when they hear the gunshot, they're just going to fire it off anyway just to make sure.
Yeah.
And that's like, maybe you see the shot miss, and that's why it's like,
how many missed shot assassinations have we had? You know what I mean? It was like 2 in a row.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
So yeah, it has to be.
Exactly.
If you're planning this sort of thing, you're like, hey, look, we can't depend on these patsy shooters to make the shot anymore. We need at least a backup plan, or just eliminate them altogether. Use them as the narrative's already made, right? They hear a gunshot, they see a guy react. It's just, you put 2 and 2 together. We've seen it so much, your brain just puts the pieces together. Right? You try to make it make sense. And if we wouldn't have seen the neck wound, I would never even look twice at it. I'd be like, oh, that was a weird shot. I mean, it looked weird, but you know, Charlie got shot in the chest.
If there was no neck wound and all we saw was the hit to the chest and him fold over, we probably wouldn't even be talking about this anymore. Story would have been done 3 months ago, I think.
Exactly. But you know, you can't explain that weird neck wound with the single shot. You know, even if it was like a AR and he let off a few rounds, I probably wouldn't even look twice at it. Oh, he got hit in the neck and he got hit in the chest. Hit in the chest first, and then he got hit in the neck. But you know, that single shot, they just banked on that single high power rifle shot. You just couldn't make sense out of it. You know, it just left me perplexed. I couldn't leave it alone. And I think that's what most people are at. You just can't, anybody with any sort of logic that believes their eyes looks at it like it just don't add. The math ain't mathing, you know, it doesn't make any sense.
Now, another piece of this same super chat, you're saying that it was composite audio quantized and mixed. The problem with that is all the audio forensics, the only way they can see the crack bang or whichever variation of that they use, the crack thump, whatever one they decide to go with, is if something supersonic traveled past that microphone, if the Mach cone actually approached that angle. So if there was no actual shots, if it was just, for example, like some people say came out of the PA system, that wouldn't be supersonic on other microphones.
No. I think you had to have an actual gunshot go off.
And, you know, they cleared off that. You see the corridor above them, they roped it off. They didn't have anyone above that. And so that's what led me to think like they were aiming towards those fountains that were behind them. They didn't, like in Butler, they had innocent people get hit, right? It complicated things because you could take trajectory from it. They could take that shot. Long as you see the water, you know, from the angle that they have, they could aim towards that water. And as long as nobody was on that,
it doesn't matter where you shoot the round.
Yeah, if there's nobody above the corridor, which they had roped off, there's nobody up there, nobody would get hit, and nobody would be able to see the round hit anything or be able to find it later. Or like what you said, they just shoot it in the grass. There are so many areas around there, and then they dug up the whole area. So, you know, there's nobody could go and try to find fragmentation or find the round itself. And you look at, you know, the Kennedy assassination, that's always been a hard push to that, where you see like the sidewalk chips, where, you know what I mean? Like they've learned from past experience. They're not going to take their past mistakes and not apply them to a new approach. Like they're going to take their past mistakes and they're going to be like, how do we prevent this from happening again? And I think this is just another example of it.
I think it's important for people to really think about this, right? Is what are we comparing Jon's, and the reason why I like Jon's theory so much is, what am I comparing Jon's theory to? I have to compare Jon's theory to the official narrative, what the FBI is telling me. That's the baseline. And the baseline to me is a 0% chance of being true. And so if the baseline doesn't work, okay, I have to look for some type of different theory, because nothing about the official narrative with the 30-06, nothing about it makes sense. There's a lot of things to Jon's theory that make sense, that answer a lot of the questions that the 30-06 round it just falls apart, right? When the official narrative falls apart, you do have a lot of answers to things that it doesn't answer. And I think that's interesting. I think there's a lot of complications to it, right? You got to match, you got to have audio, you got to match with the second shooter or Patsy, but that doesn't mean it's not necessarily something that can happen. But what did I think we did, our poll was, we did a poll on our side, and it was 96% believe Jon's theory over the official narrative. So of 5,000-6,000 people. So, I mean, start to look at it that way and you're like, okay, well, if it's not Jon's theory, well, then what is it? What's real then? The official narrative? Because I mean, I can't get on board with that. So I think your theory, and I said this when I did, is the best alternative theory so far, comparatively to all the other ones. The necklace, the lapel mic, the tunnels, like all the different theories we've had. I think yours is the best. So far, at least it answers the most questions that nobody else can answer, at least in my opinion.
I'm still waiting on an alien theory or something outer space. All right, let's see.
Oh.
Mark Hateen, thanks for the super chat. Let's see. Bushman was mixing audio on the iPad. I guess that's the audio engineer, maybe. Beard told him device was go. You hear it feedback, they activated too soon, extra speakers. So you're saying that the audio person has something to do with it, and that the feedback and stuff that was happening in the system was related. That the feedback is very normal in these type of events. And I've worked as a live sound engineer and done audio engineering and stuff like that. And that happens all the time. So I don't think the audio feedback had anything to do with what happened. Any thoughts from you guys on that?
No, I talked about that too when I did the electrocution theory. I was kind of like, well, feedback sort of seems like a pretty normal thing with that type of situation. So, but I mean, I'm no expert. You know way more than me on that.
Let's see. Hey, Trigger, you're one of my favorite people on YouTube right now. Just FYI. Well, hopefully not just right now. Hopefully that continues. Valhalla is a great addition. Can't wait to find out the new stuff from Jon too. Hopefully you guys learned something. I told you, people were like, Valhalla, having him on, is it going to add value? You can see it did. Added a lot of value. And now it helps Jon push his theory further and get more detailed, right? So this is all good things. Thanks for the new members. We have one on my side, one on Nate's side.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I saw a lot of comments were like, Nate's just going to come in here and debunk Jon. I'm like, did you not watch my episode on Jon's theory? Yeah. My whole episode was giving him more credit than any of the other theories. So
we have people excited. Let's see. Almost Sabe, thanks for the super chat. Do you have any good footage of Charlie's chest? No. Was there blood to indicate a shape charge? Did you see the video I sent of Blake Neff with the necklace? Yes, I did, if that was you. So she sent me a video, he or she, I don't know, I just guess on the image basically, but there's a video where it shows, you can kind of zoom in on it, but it looks like someone hands Blake Neff another necklace, and you can see the chain kind of dangling from his hand. He plays with it for a second, and then he like kind of takes it and puts it in his pocket, and that was right behind Charlie's tent. Very interesting. But as far as, do you have any good footage of Charlie's chest with the blood, Jon?
No, that's one thing that I look for, and that led me down the whole, like, what would the wound look like? What would it, what would the after effects be on it? And basically, like, it's mostly all internal damage. The sheer force of it, and it's such a high velocity jet inside, it kind of prevents any blood from escaping from it. Kind of like what you see with a lot of, like, when the chest impacts or bullet impacts, like, they don't bleed immediately as much as you would think they would. Like, sometimes it's a little bit delayed, then it's heavy, but it comes out once it can come out, it comes out hard. But there's some cauterization too, the not from the sheer heat, but just from the sheer, like, ripping force. It's almost like taking a water jet to someone's chest. It's a really clean, like a precision cut.
If you watch them, guys, when they go through vehicles, because this is really why they got developed by Iran, was to blow through tanks, because the regular IEDs weren't strong enough to get through, like the Abrams tanks. They basically just melt like a plasma circle straight through the tank, and pretty much kills everybody inside. So yeah, it's nasty device for sure.
Yep, and we have PJ here, says thanks for coming on, Jon and Nate. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for making this happen. It was kind of short notice for Valhalla as well, and he accepted, and we appreciate that. This is you, Nate.
It's going to be a great show. Huge shout out to the Quest and Nate for this one. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about the polls. I didn't realize that it wasn't across everyone. That's per side, so I have to keep that in mind.
I've tried to do them over here too as well.
Let's see. This is you as well, Nate.
Just a shout out, big fan. Love your passion for standing up for the truth. Thank you very much.
And we have Sherry says, absolutely, Jon. I believe your theory over anything I've heard. We're hearing that a lot.
I think it's better than any of the theories so far, personally. I'm not sold on it, right? I'm just be clear, I'm not sold on any theory completely, but I do think it's the best theory so far.
Agreed. That's you, Nate.
Here's another 10 for my typo. Meant guess, not guess. But here we are. Anything sounds better than Tyler did it. Even dinosaurs on the speedboat. I can't prove they didn't do it. Yeah.
Nora says, yo, guys, thank you for all you do. Why were there two microphones? So one microphone, the one he was holding in his hand, was for the PA system. The one on his shirt is a wireless mic, and they probably were most likely using it for social media. And it also adds redundancy. So he has a second backup. And it's pretty common. They did it at all their events.
They film all that stuff for videos too, guys. So that's why they have a second mic.
All right, Nate, that's you.
Ilhan Omar's sleep mask is an eye patch. Does Ilhan Omar wear an eye patch? I don't get it. Is this a Dan Crenshaw joke somehow? I don't know. Thank you.
This is from your side.
Sabat jacket.
Is that where the 5.56 is inside the 30-06? Is that what that is?
Oh, is that like an accelerator type round?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Here's the problem, guys, is that now multiple creators have tested both frangible rounds, or Trigger, you tested frangible rounds. And then one of my viewers, Adam, actually tested low-grain varmint rounds, and it straight blew through everything, too. Like a 30-06 low-grain varmint round, and it just blew through a sheep, like straight through like a sheep shoulder blade and everything. Like everything we've seen, frangible rounds, low-grain rounds, bad powder rounds, old rounds, from 1945, all of them have blown straight through everything, literally everything. So,
and for this one, we did cover this earlier, but basically he was just a patsy. He was a fall guy. Nate.
Mnemonics, pump system, some sort of non-explosives. I don't know. What's John? You know what this is? Mnemonics.
Yeah, they're basically using compressed gas. The problem is that you would need a huge volume of, not compressed gas wouldn't do it. You would need a compressed liquid, and so as the basically depressurizes, the liquid boils and it makes more pressure. But even using like CO2, you would need 37 grams. It would be a huge tank. It would be thick, heavy. The hoses that you would need, particularly the valves, you can't just use any valve. You need a valve with like low restriction. It would just be a huge device. There'd be no way you could hide it.
And then this one.
He's in Valhalla, brother. He's in Valhalla, brother.
All right. And Nate.
John, anyone offer to loan a high-speed camera?
Yeah,
offer you, John.
Yeah, I'm going to actually use the money from the super chats. I'm going to get a ballistic torso made. I'm going to wrap it in the bacterial cellulose to give an accurate representation of like the epidermis. And once I get done with my simulations on the device, I'll start building these devices 3D printed at first, because I can't afford to just be blowing up Rode microphones. Yeah. But once I get it nailed, I think it's pretty close. I'm going to actually detonate the mic that he had that day. I'll probably have to use like tannerite or something like low. I'll have to increase the charge to make up for the difference. I doubt I'm going to be able to get, the same explosives, but I'll just use more of it to match the energy involved and be able to replicate this thing. I think that it's not like a event we can't replicate. I think it's something that we can replicate, and then I can set the parameters and other people can do the same thing. That's the only way we're going to get any truth out of it. We just make it ourselves and we just show it to everyone, and then, something to get done. We just sit back and wait for the justice to come. It's never going to come. We'll be waiting forever. They'll kick it back and get honey dick us on the truth at little bits at a time. But if we can, yeah, but if we replicate the actual happenings of it, then it's going to force their hand, and we'll see some movement of it. They'll come up with a spin and blame it on some nefarious party or something. But the truth will come out one way or another.
Well, we've tried to replicate the official narrative. I can tell you that, and it's not gone well for any of us who've tried.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Wilson, thanks for the super chat. If the necklace is blasted from the right, then the pendants will behave like a pendulum, swinging left and upwards. A pendant moving at 200 feet per second can easily penetrate the skin. No odd physics required. Any thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, I don't think the pendant moved. I thought the pendant moved at first, but I don't think the pendant moved. The trajectory, the shirt deformation, and the actual video evidence, we don't see the pendant. We see the circuit board. Like, it's definitely the trajectory was across the chest. It wasn't, swinging from below and up. And the biggest key that really made me leave the pendant behind was the fact that the necklace never moves from his left side. It stays rested on it. There's no way the pendant swings and doesn't move the necklace with it. The necklace movement starts from the snap point on the right side and moves over. Seeing that necklace draped over it, the only way that necklace stays draped over is the pendant was still attached. Like it was still, that's the only thing holding that necklace underneath the shirt. So,
All right, make sure you guys hit that like. It's the only thing that makes YouTube happy. You have to feed the algorithm. Hit it on both sides, on Valhalla's side and mine, if you could, please. All right, let's see. Deborah Serrano, thanks for the super chat. That shockwave snapshot seals the deal for me. Yeah. A lot of people, when they see, especially the, she's talking about under the neck, that area right here that we were looking at. It looks like it's like got blown up into. Wow. Alva Sorcerer Video Library. Thanks for the super chat. For John, will you agree to post a video of your test fires, even if the results are grossly inconsistent with what we see on CK, Jordan Hinshaw?
oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to waste my time until I get it right. I mean, if you don't do it right, of course, it'll be inconsistent. This was, an event that is going to require some testing to work it out. So I'm going to do as much of the work and simulation to ensure that once I start doing it, I'm not just wasting my time.
And John, I have 2 more units that you can use if you want me to send them over to you for testing.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's see. And Jordan, are you using like an alias to try and sneak questions in? What's going on over here? That's kind of sketchy. All right, let's see. Stefana Holman, I like John's theory, but shouldn't the front of Charlie's shirt be blood saturated?
And I get that's the jet penetration.
Yeah, no.
It's going to prevent that blood from really escaping out. You're going to have a clean wound. It's going to look abnormally clean. It's going to look strange. It's going to be so clean. You'll see a little charring and kind of like tearing on the outside of it, but outside of that, it's just going to be a round hole in his chest.
So based on the heat and everything generated from that shape charge, would that also cauterize?
Yeah, yeah, and because it creates such a shearing force too, it just anything that it impacts, it's sending internal, and then what's remaining is not going to bleed because of the heat.
I'll see. Nate.
Remember, Dan F put mini fan bottom RT chair leg. Dan Flood put a mini fan. A mini fan.
There was 2 fans actually. There's a fan on the front of the table and a fan on the back side of the table. The table jumper, I call him, the guy that jumps the table for no reason. He kicks over Charlie's tee and knocks the 2 tea bags over and knocks one of the fans over, but the other fan's sitting there running the whole time.
Yeah, I call that Dan Flood's nutsack fan to keep his nuts from sweating. It's pointing right at him. He's the only one using it.
I'm pretty sure he got canned, didn't he? Didn't they get rid of him?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah, he's off the website and everything.
Or reassigned, right?
I mean, that was my call, is to fire all the security team immediately.
What a failure.
All right, that's you, Nate.
I need more of your side investigation opinions on you, ICE, and how they're acting. No body cams, etc. I really expect your opinions. On ICE? I mean, I think ICE needs more training, man. I started looking into it. Like, some of the ICE officers are getting 47 days of training before they're going out on the streets. It's not great. I'm pro law enforcement, but yeah, we need some more work done on that. But that's a different topic for a different day.
And to all the channel members, I know I didn't mention them earlier. There were a lot of them. We definitely appreciate you. Let's see. Donnie B. Thanks for the super chat. Shirt halfway up stomach. Don't see any damage. So I think when he was being carried away, maybe you didn't see any damage, from like the rib cage down, basically.
You do see some abrasion. There's some bruising abrasion under the nipple. But
I haven't seen that.
The peaks,
I didn't know there's video footage of that
on X.
Yeah, you can see it. Definitely, it's pretty clear. From that high resolution photos that the stills that the guy released. I forgot his name, but the peaks that I'm at, I believe it's like upper sternum was the impact. So the shirt never raised high enough to really expose any of that.
All right, this is for you, Nate.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Jax. Good looking puppy right there.
This is for you as well. What's
the theory on the trap door and cement? Yeah, there was a theory that, there was a complete underground system that I don't know. I think there was pictures of it before that. Who knows what that you could do down there? But the idea was that Charlie got shot from below coming out of that trap door, which I don't know. That's not one I ever subscribed to. True, they did.
Gary, thanks for the super. Great analysis and detailed demonstration of the impact, and if nothing else, there's reasonable doubt in the case against TR. Now we'll see if there's collusion in the court. And on that note, Friday it's a pretrial, and this is just to see if he's going to lose one of his defense people because his child, I guess, was in the crowd when this happened. So there's a pretrial for that, and I'm going to be covering it. I'm going to have a lawyer on. No, it's not Barron, but I'm going to have another lawyer on, and we're also going to have possibly Billy and Brandy show. They might be doing live coverage and interviews outside the court. So that could be really interesting on Friday. And it's going to be during the day because it starts at like 1 p.m. So we'll probably start around noon. For John, how is anything going to go through his body and puff the shirt? I guess in the back where it puffs out.
Oh yeah, it's from the gas traveling across his chest. So it's like the waist expansion. The jet is really precise. It's like, like a needle through butter, but there's inefficiencies in the design where the space constraint is so small that you can't have the cone and the standoff. The standoff is really important to get like maximum penetration. Otherwise you get kind of like, when the cone can't fully form a jet, you get some gas that's going to blow off the edge of his flesh and blow in all directions. And that's where we see that radial pattern, kind of like his cheek getting blown and the shock waves going across, and his shirt lifting at the sleeve, at the bottom of his shirt. And I believe the reason that the collar raises so much at the back is because kind of the arc of the shoulder, right? That gas is trying to escape, and it just follows the arc of the shoulder across the fabric, and the easiest path to escape is out the back of the collar. And I think that's why we see the collar stretch so much at the edge of the collar and kind of like go in, where if it was a penetration, you would see at the point of penetration would be the peak of the stretch. And we don't see that. We see the peak of the stretch at the edge of the collar. So that led me to believe that's just gas escaping from his shirt.
All right, let's see. Nate's a good dude. He just disagreed about Mitch. It's okay not to agree on everything. 100%. 100% agree.
Thank you, buddy.
And also, I heard this. I don't remember which creator said this. It was pretty recent. I think it was Barron, maybe. But he said if you agree with someone 80% of the time, then that's good enough. You're not going to agree with everyone on every single thing. So just think about that.
I hope not. I don't agree with everybody on every single thing personally. But thank you.
Okay, so John, for you, I don't normally do a lot of super chats, but would like to donate to John for all his time and research to help with any supplies for testing, etc. Is there a place to donate to him? Do you have like a PayPal or Venmo or anything like that set up, or do you just kind of go off like the?
No, just buy something that you need from my company, Blue Mountain Farm, OK.com. We make self-care fermented beverages. Buy something that's good for you, and I can help you and you can help me at the same time. So that's the best way to help me. I'd rather, help you get away from this corporate slop self-care that's killing everyone. And and then I'm gonna use the profits from that to help further this out, like the super chat money. I'm gonna buy that ballistic chest. So anything I can spare to push this forward, I am. So and Trigger's audience has been great. We've had so much support. Everyone's been so nice.
Can you give me that link? I'll put it up in my pinned comment too for my audience.
I'll put that in the private chat. It should be over there. But yeah, so basically what it does, just obviously this is like a side quest for this QA and stuff, but basically he creates a lot of like organic and natural and like healthy alternatives to some other stuff. And they do it out here. It's Blue Mountain Farm, OK, as in Oklahoma.com. And I also put the link down in the description if you want to help them out. But yeah, the audience has been great. You guys have been supporting them quite a bit. Where can I see? Here we go, shop. So just like a real quick overview, there's some soda prebiotic stuff. We have self-care. There's tallow items, which have been really popular. And I think you guys, they sold you out, didn't they?
like sold me out like 4 times.
Yeah.
I've been 12-hour days and keeping up with it, but it's great. The support has been life-changing. Like it's really, I don't tend to like attach this to it, but if you want to support me, this is the best way to do it. My wife thought I was crazy for spending so much time on this, but God rewards good behavior, good works lead to good works. And, we started this company to help everyone with the alternatives from all the terrible things that they pack on the shelves at your local retailers. And, this has led us to be able to reach a bigger audience. So, it's all for the greater good.
And in my audience, we got it in the pinned comment as well. Make sure you go over there, buy some stuff from Jon, support him.
Let's see. I'm just going to get down to the super chats. We have a ton of questions, but I just want to make sure we get to all the super chats. Let's see. This is for Nate.
Military and clandestine op, custom housing, and nobody would see a difference. We can't look at existing mic housing. It might be custom. I think, Jon, that's not necessarily true, right? Didn't they, with the way they did that with the Israeli pagers, they made them a little bit bigger, I think. How exactly did they make custom ones? Or could you actually...
They were just
could you
slightly
pull the
changed.
battery out and put in a smaller battery and actually be able to use an actual regular Rode mic and facilitate the inside of that?
Yeah, and it was much more difficult with the Grim pager because that was a suspicious party. They took those through airport scanners.
Right,
They had dogs go over those. Like they knew that there was a pretty good chance that they were at least had listening devices on them. So they scanned these things as best as they could, and they cleared the snuff. And remember, it was a decade they were using these devices before they detonated them. They were out there in the wild for a decade before they finally executed on that. And what most people don't know is the walkie-talkies that happened the day after. They're even more bizarre. The walkie-talkies, they don't even know how they set them off. The batteries set off. The batteries exploded on the chargers. The pagers, they hacked the cellular system and used the special frequency to set the pagers off, where you had to decrypt the message. So you had to hit 2 buttons on the pager, and that's why people had their fingers blown off in there, because they were looking at their pager, hitting 2 buttons to try to decrypt the message to make it blow up. The walkie-talkies, they don't even know how they set them off because it was just the batteries. It wasn't through the radio antenna on the walkie-talkie. So, there's a level of technology we don't even understand fully about that event. Everyone likes to talk about the pagers, but the real high technology was in the walkie-talkies, which we don't even understand how they work yet. They just glanced over it, and they were far more deadly than the pagers were.
All right, this is Nate.
Glad to see you back, Nate. Thank you very much. Happy birthday to your daughter. Many blessings to your family. Thanks for bringing on Jon and TriggerSmart. Well, TriggerSmart brought me on, but we decided to just dual live it so that way we could bring both the audiences in here for Jon. So thank you very much.
Let's see. James, thank you for the super. Where's the archive of all the original unedited photos and video? I can put that down in the description, but it's basically a web archive, and I don't know if it's been updated. Do you know, Jon? I don't think people have added much to it since the first month or so.
No, it has all the same original stuff on it.
All right, Nate.
Starting at about 22:34 in Life is Driving video, check out the metal barricades behind the tent. The trunk shot van is intentionally separated from the other vehicles by a row of barricades. Life is Driving video? Have you guys seen that? I'm not aware of that one.
I'm not either.
All right.
I mean, I've heard people reference it, but I'm not familiar with which video that is.
Yeah, but sorry, brother. I haven't seen that one yet. I'll look into it though.
I am not 100% on board with this theory, but it makes way more sense.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not subscribed to it completely, but I believe it way more than I do the 30-06 narrative.
And that's for Nate.
One thing we know for sure is that it was not a 30-06. Yeah, Crystal, I think. Well, I mean, let me be clear. There is, I think, some of the most respected ballistics experts I've seen talk about this say it's about maybe a 1 in 50,000 chance that a regular 170 grain full metal jacket round 30-06 that you could buy from Blast Pro Shop, about 1 in 50 to 1 in 100,000 chance of not seeing an exit wound. So maybe it was the Powerball. Maybe it was the Powerball, but that's not where I'm going to put my. That's not what I'm going to subscribe to. Not a 1 in 100,000 chance. It's just I can't do it.
And I see one comment. I don't know why I can't bring it up, but it says bring Baron on. I would be happy to bring Baron on or be on his show. I was actually trying to get a couple people to come in here along with Nate, but for some reason on X, I can't message anyone. I don't know if my account has some kind of weird thing going on, but I'm verified, I'm premium, all that stuff, and I can't message anybody. So I'm still working on that.
I'll talk to Baron. I'll text him and see if he can get you guys connected.
All right, this is Nate.
Valhalla, big fan. Answer your emails. Oh man, dude, I try. We get a lot. Question, John Valhalla, is the 10% waste energy enough to power lodge the battery in his neck? Also, the cavitation of his neck bulge is on the right side. How do you explain this? I would say real quick, the cavitation, that's just from what we can see. It looks to me like actual full cavitation in the neck, all the way around, depending on how you still frame it. But as for the explosive itself, I'll let John answer that because he's the expert on that, not me.
Yeah, there's the actual jet has a tremendous amount of power. So the energy required to launch that battery fast enough to penetrate 3 centimeters in the neck is exactly 10% of what I calculated the shape charge would have put into the jet stream of the cone off the cone. So the maths on that, it was just fast enough to penetrate the neck. Like if it would have struck in any different way, it wouldn't have caused a wound. Like it was a real freak occurrence, and that's why it's probably going to be difficult for me to recreate. That's why I'm doing as much work beforehand to try to get everything right, because it was a freak occurrence. I imagine they tested this device quite a lot, and they were really surprised when they got the results they got that day.
Let's see. We say someone said Coach Colin is hilarious, but may not be a good fit for this conversation. I think Coach Colin is awesome. I think his take and his videos and that kind of stuff, the humor. He also has a lot of little side things that he says that are very, very interesting that no one else thinks about. I think he would have a lot of value in the conversation, to be honest. Let's see. This will be ours. Let's see. TPUSA ruined the chain of custody. Yes, of the most important piece of evidence, the body. They deserve every ounce of skepticism. Thanks for that super chat, Stefano Hamam.
A lot of evidence tampering went down that day, turns out.
Mm-hmm. This is Nate.
Do you know covert op enhanced rad weapon AES makes? Isn't that, I think that's potentially what was being brought up earlier about AES making these? John, was that what we were talking about earlier? Was that the company?
People found the contract for the micro-shaped charges, but I think it was with the Navy that they had the contract with.
I'll have to look into that. This conversation's the first time I've heard of that. Wouldn't be shocked, though. I mean, we're always testing weird shit.
Now, there is I don't want to give away too much, but let's just say there may be troops on the ground looking into the AES stuff. I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. That's a John question. Yeah, I don't know if you knew about this, Nate and John, but so for the next day, for September 11th, there was another event, but there was no security scheduled for it.
Oh, fuck.
And they schedule events. Yeah. They scheduled events out weeks and months in advance, and they had no security plan for it.
They have a text with the local police that says that they were going to cover it. So that's their explanation.
Dude, that's so bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's not true. I believe you. You know what I mean? I'm just saying I hadn't heard that before. And if that's the case, let's just add it to the other 100 fucking sketchy things with everybody involved in this.
All right, Nate.
Took a basic first aid course years ago, but isn't it a rule not to move someone with head, neck, and spine injuries? Aren't you supposed to apply pressure and wait for help? Why carry him like that? I did an entire video breaking down the failures of the security team, most specifically in trauma medicine, with exactly this. One of my biggest criticisms was, yes, the decision to just grab him, not apply any pressure to his neck at all as he's just bleeding out, and then just run and throw him in a van and drive him to the hospital. There's context to this, okay? it's not a definite rule to not move somebody with a head, neck, or spine injury. It depends on the danger of the situation they're in. So what I would have given them credit for is if they would have been worried that Charlie, there was going to be more rounds, right? Like if they didn't know more gunfire was coming, more people get shot, you'd potentially want to move Charlie around that building. Like move him around the cement building, 10 feet around the building, treat him there, try to stabilize him there, wait for paramedics who are going to show up with all of the actual aid equipment that's potentially going to save his life. That was the correct way to handle that situation. But it's very clear that nobody on that security team had any real high-level trauma medicine training. They probably had no plans in place, because that plan should have been in place. Not just for that event, but for any event. If X happens, what are we going to do? Well, if Charlie is shot in the carotid artery or any artery, we're not going to try to just carry him off and then throw him in a fucking van and drive him to the hospital. We're going to stabilize him, stop the bleeding, and wait for paramedics and higher level care to arrive. So to your point, it was a failure all the way around. So, but that's what they should have done, is probably move him around the corner, stabilize him, keep him there, get paramedics there. Because keep in mind, the hospital was what, guys? Like 2 minutes away, which means paramedics were probably 2 to 3 minutes away. So they really don't have an excuse for that.
And just really quick, if you guys can hit that like and subscribe. If you're on Valhalla's side, feel free to subscribe for me, and vice versa. If you're on TriggerSmart side and you like what Valhalla's added and that kind of stuff, make sure you go over there, show him some love. And then Jon Bray is John Aaron, Aaron Bray on X. And there's a link that's in the description and also in the chat that you can look at his, I guess, what do you call it? Like organic, natural products for your business?
It's self-care.
Self-care. And a lot of people have raved about it and they say it's amazing. All right, let's see. This is, okay. Your research has been amazing, John. Thank you for all your efforts. Also, thanks to Trigger and Nate for all you do. You are welcome. That is for Nate. No message there.
Appreciate you.
And Nate again.
Tired of biting my tongue. I don't understand why you continually distract from the real stories. Iran. I literally just put out a video on Iran 4 hours ago. So Venezuela, 2 videos ago, I did a video on Venezuela. Cash Patel's Kirk theory is all BS. What's going on with Wes Watson? I mean, again, man, I literally just put out videos on those subjects. So I don't.
You're 3 for 3. So
yeah. So yeah,
thanks
just put that out today.
Thanks for the super. Gary, thanks. Let's see. Poll, was the person jumping off the roof Tyler Robinson? Yes, no, not sure. Yes. So I've heard many of you say, like, how come you don't put like not sure or undecided or something similar? I like to try to get you to make a decision. It's too easy to just add like a not sure. That's why.
I do that too with my polls. I don't give any cop outs.
100%. Holisticology. Thanks for the super. Let's see. I got the Blue Mountain Farm Super Tallow. I love it. So glad you made these. And I've heard from a lot of my audience that they love all the stuff they've gotten from him so far.
Yeah, I'm going to check your stuff out. What do you think the odds are that he wasn't supposed to die? I 100% think the full intention was for him to die. For sure, personally. I don't know what you guys think. I think they wanted to make sure he was dead.
Yeah. He was ruffling too many feathers. He was going against not only the war stuff, but also the lobbies for other countries. So made an enemy of himself for sure. Savannah Barberi, thanks for the super. Matt, what about the Freedom t-shirt? When he was on the grounds, it was white with no logo. So I've seen the images, I've seen the blood, and I've seen it pulled up. I'm gonna have to go double check that now that you mentioned that.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't. Sure. Yeah, I mean, it has to be there somewhere. I mean, the letters aren't gonna, unless the letters got blown off the shirt. I don't know. I guess maybe that's possible. Let's see. Another jet question. This is Nate.
Maybe they use some classified technology. Here's what I'll say, guys. I know everybody thinks, and we do have some crazy stuff out there, right? But like typically, I doubt it. I doubt you see some classified technology. I do think you see some like I don't want to call it wazoo, but like improvised explosive devices, like John knows. Like you don't actually need the craziest technology to pull something like this off. Keep in mind, like dirt farmers in Iraq and Afghanistan fucked us up and blew up tanks with basically, copper and tin cans. So, I don't think you need the craziest technology ever to pull this off. To John, to your thought, I mean, I think this is something like you can make, right?
Yeah, when you have a low technology solution, you're going to use that. It's just
All right, and just really quick, we had a poll. I asked if it was foreign or domestic involvement for Charlie's assassination. So foreign is 57%, domestic is 43%. It's a lot closer than I expected.
Yeah.
Very interesting. The Intuit, thanks for the super. What if Charlie was in on a fake assassination attempt to garner stronger support like Trump's?
Oh, I like this one.
And someone involved in the planning took it as a perfect opportunity to actually
I've
take
heard this
Charlie
theory
out.
before. I do like this theory, actually. I mean, it actually potentially works with exactly what you're talking about, right? It is kind of a slight towards Charlie Kirk, right, to assume that he would do something like this. But it does kind of work in with, even with John's theory. Like if Charlie thought maybe that, like, it's going to be some type of explosion that's not actually going to hurt you. I don't know, but it's a wazoo one, but who knows? I don't know what you guys think.
What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I think they could easily convince him that his life was in danger, and this would be a good way for him to get out to save him, and just make the device a lot hotter than he was anticipating. And it could explain, like, one issue I've always had with it is how he closes his eyes. You know what I mean? Like, he puts the mics down and he closes his eyes, and I was like, does he do it all the time? I watched other videos. I've never seen him do it in another event. It's like there was some anticipation, but it could just have been coincidence. I mean, he was hearing the same dumb question that he's heard probably like 100 times. So it could have just been him like, dear Lord, give me patience. So you just never know. But in the scenario he was under, it would be very easy for them to convince him that his life was in danger. And this was a good way for him to not only get witness protection, but make it where his witness protection was airtight because everyone assumed he was dead.
All right, Nate.
Sup, Nate? Great to see Trigger and John in here. Y'all are legends. Just wait for Dan, Jesse, and Ian to show up to come first full circle. Thanks, bros. Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Savannah Barberi, thanks for the super. With all due respect, guys, I believe Charlie is alive. By the way, love your show. Yeah, I mean, no one has 100%. Like I said, no one has 100% proof either way.
I'll tell you this. There are more people who believe Charlie Kirk is alive now than believed it like the first week of this. Yep. That theory has increased in popularity for sure. And a lot of it is because there's no answer. There's no real good answer yet to exactly, or like, we don't know exactly how this happened. And so, theories like that, I think that's where they get more popular.
Nate?
He makes sense. Watch his videos, slow YouTube speed, so frames are slower. You see the black pieces falling. As soon as his shirt rises up, you see the plastic go towards his neck. Is this... Oh, we didn't watch those videos, did we? We were talking about potentially watching some of that frag come out. I don't know if we were allowed to.
The ones that I have aren't doctored enough yet for live streams.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Unfortunately. But on X, if you go to Jon Bray on X, you can see all of this in detail. Because X
I need to get X. I eventually have to get X. Everybody bullies me and says, Nate, you have to get on X because that's where all the good information is. So maybe,
they let me
finally do it.
Anything. Yeah. I've had one thing that someone, complained about and I had it taken down. But for the most part, I can put anything I want on X and it stays up.
That's
free for all.
Yeah.
I've heard that. Fun fact. There is a @ channel on X.
Oh,
is everyone always tags constantly. It is not.
Yeah, that's not me. Also, there's a TikTok channel with like 60, 70,000 subscribers. That's Valhalla VFT. That's not me either, guys. So, yeah, I'm just on YouTube and Instagram.
Nate again.
Someone said they shot the young into the rink. Do the black vehicle in the tunnel behind CK that opened seconds before the shot and corpses and after. Yeah, that was a different shot from behind theory. I watched that one a while back. I just couldn't see any fidelity in what I was watching when I saw that. I don't know if you guys remember that one. The Trigger, I think, or Matt, you did something on that video, right?
That was basically
that was the pendant one too, right?
Yeah.
That one for me. I just couldn't see it well enough for me to get on board with that one.
Yeah, there were two separate guests. One believes that he's still alive. The other one thinks he's dead, but they both thought the shot came from behind around that van area. And it's strange that the van, the trunk opens, the shot happens, and then the trunk closes. That's very, very suspect. Let's see. Oakhurst Self-Storage Inc. Thanks for the super. Jax is K9. This mic was for recorded video. Audio would have continued if the mic wasn't the culprit. Easy to rule out. I bet that's missing too. Yep, exactly. And another thing too is this has two sources of audio. There's the internal recording on the actual, like this actual transmitter records 32-bit float audio in it. And then it also broadcasts out to the receiver that's probably connected to a camera or the laptop or something else. So there might be two sources. And you'll know if it's 24-bit, like if they actually released it tomorrow and said, hey, here's the proof, here's the audio, the mic's still there. If it's not 32-bit float, then it's not legit. Oakhurst Self-Storage, thanks for another one. What does Valhalla mean, and what was meant by Kash Patel ending his funeral speech with "See you in Valhalla"?
Valhalla is the Norse heaven for warriors. So if warriors die in battle in Norse mythology, then they go to Valhalla. And yeah, I'm not Norse, I'm Christian, but my family's from Sweden, so Scandinavian, so that's where it is for me. For Kash Patel, however, I'm not sure why Kash Patel is talking about going to Valhalla, but it's funny anyway.
Let's see. Dog knows. Let's see what you make of ground pat down plus mess with CK before SUV. Are you talking about Rick Cutler, like picking stuff up off the ground and that kind of stuff? Is that what you're talking about? It does appear there's like Nate again. There's a video on X that is very, very close and a pretty good resolution. You can see Charlie being carried off by his team from a totally different angle.
Mm-hmm.
And you can clearly see Rick Cutler on the ground picking up something, and he kind of like lifts his hand up like this, like he's holding a handful of something. Yeah. Very, very, very suspect. That might be what they're talking about there. All right, that one is Nate.
Why use a bullet as a detonator instead of its intended use? Thank you for the awesome insight and information. A bullet as a detonator. I think what you mean is the gunshot, like the sound of the gunshot, which is going to fire the shape charge mechanism off. I mean, I don't know. That would be something for John to explain. For me, if we were going to go down that theory, I don't think it's necessarily as much about using the bullet as a detonator. It's you have to have a patsy, right? That's the entire point of the gunshot going off, is you need a patsy, because if Charlie Kirk's chest just explodes out of nowhere and there's no gunshot, people go, his security team killed him, right? So you got to have a patsy, you got to have a gunshot for that theory to work. Otherwise, it's just a mic exploding on his chest. And then what? The audio engineer goes to jail immediately. So at least, John, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly right. You can't just explode Charlie's mic. Everyone would be immediately know that there's higher parties involved. And the bullets miss. We've had 2 failed assassinations of Trump with missed bullets. So, they can't depend on a patsy shot anymore. So you get the benefits of the patsy shot without the risk of a miss shot.
Nate.
Oh, what's up, Bagman? Thank you, brother, for the boys. Appreciate it.
Dog's nose, in my opinion, they'll play at CK in a glass case for dollars.
At this point, they put the mic in there.
They won't have to pay taxes if they do that.
They'll set up a mock tent that you can take pictures in front of.
Nate, that's you.
She had him cremated to hide the evidence on his chest. Do we know if he's buried? Is he cremated? Do we know anything that's happened?
Not yet.
No.
I know they had an arena lined up.
I assume they cremated him.
How did they get that arena lined up so fast? That always blew my mind. Like, that was quite a coordination to have that all lined up, just like a Hollywood, a WWE level event, just,
Didn't
some hours.
As far as I remember, they actually already had that scheduled.
Yes, they did ahead of time.
Didn't they? They didn't say what it was for, but they had the arena scheduled for an event.
That's what I've heard.
Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't want to get that. I don't want to, but I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
Let's see. William, thanks for the super. Matt is the only one of these 3 still looking for the truth. I would disagree. I would
You got
disagree. I
us.
think that, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like it's, I respect your opinion, but, John is looking for the truth that he sees value in. Same with Nate, same with me. If you go on X, you'll see people, there's like 30 different theories all growing all at the same time. So I think everyone really wants to get to the bottom of this, but also it's been going on for a long time. A lot of people are starting to get burnt out. So they're starting to look at other things. Let's see. That's Nate.
Great guess. Thank you, Shortcoin. Appreciate it.
And you have the next two as well.
Oh, that's Bobby. What's up, Bobby? Most of us have seen the Zapruder film and have seen what a high-powered rifle round can do. I still want to know where camera from behind went. Oh, yeah. And what the security team passing between themselves. Yeah, again, we still have no idea. Like, there's like 4 or 5 different handoffs. That footage from behind is still, like, it's TPUSA's footage. Like, suppose what does the FBI have control of it? So they can't put it out. They can put out everything else, but they can put out coroner's reports, allegedly, but they can't put out high fidelity 4K footage that would show us a lot. Another sketchy thing to me that we haven't seen that.
Well, remember too, a lot of people are saying, well, it would, it'd mess up the case. But remember Mangione, when he shot the CEO of the healthcare company, they released that footage right away.
It's all that's that like, oh, it's gonna taint the jury pool is bullshit. The prosecution either has evidence to convict Tyler Robinson or they don't. That you could taint the jury pool the opposite way, to where you could taint the jury pool into wanting to convict Tyler Robinson based off bullshit information. But if there's evidence, like if there's video footage of him shooting, to John's point, like we know there's a camera that could see exactly where he laid down in the prone and shot. Like if you have that footage, show it to us. But it doesn't sound like they have that footage from what we're hearing.
This one's you as well.
When planning an op, isn't the entire story created first? Maybe it was supposed to a 30-06 to the chest, but the shape charge didn't do as expected. Maybe. I mean, 30-06 round to the sternum. Oh my God! Like you'd have seen that. It would be just like to the neck though, right? Is you would expect a 30-06 round to blow straight through a human sternum and out his back, but we don't see any of that. So
let's see. Ricky, thanks for the super. Thank you, John, for being brave enough to come forward and share your expertise. This is the only rational explanation. The neck wound foiled the whole plan. Yeah, if this was an unintentional wound, that would definitely change everything. I would imagine they're scrambling pretty heavily behind the scenes right now, which might be why you haven't heard alibis from certain people. They've kind of just stayed quiet. This one, can we recreate it? John is going to try. He's working on it. Let's see. Nate,
just a thought: if those abrasions on his hands wouldn't we have seen them in the casket video? Erica did. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Why he didn't have all those burns and abrasions on his hands? Well, but we've seen the casket video of his creepy doll-sized makeup hands. So I don't think that's him in the casket, personally. At least, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but. No security setup for the next CK event. Yep. Matt just brought that up.
And this one as well.
I have a video I need someone to see at least Sean's light on it. That at least guys are killing me with the spelling tonight. At least shines light on it. He could have died that fast. He was moving his arms around. Well, you could probably email me or Matt or John if you've got footage. That's typically the best way to do it.
Claire, thanks for the super. John, are you saying that the mic shrapnel traveled through his body and came out of his neck, or it hit him from the outside?
It traveled underneath his shirt, and the circuit board traveled right in front of his neck, but the battery is on the front of the circuit board traveling at the same trajectory and just caught on his neck to penetrate his jugular.
Nate?
A pager is read in one fixed orientation. A handheld mic can be angled in any direction. Isn't going to use a known method. They use likely a 2-2-3 round. Well, Yeah, the pager mics were designed basically to be directional to explode in the face of people, but John's theory is that it's not just an exploding pager, it's a shape charge in it, which is a directional blast. So, you know.
Let's see, Marty Beck, thanks for the super. I get censored on YouTube and X when I say, as an engineer, I would have 4 sharp prongs come out the corners of the mic, 2 ms, 2 milliseconds before the blast. Does that make sense to you, John?
Yeah, I don't think you need it. I think the deformation of the shirt kind of benefits the Hollywood squib effect of a rifle shot to the chest. You know, it wouldn't have been perfect, but it would have been good enough for most people to pass it off. I would have passed it off. If they would have said, if they could come out tomorrow and say, hey, Charlie was shot in the chest and the bullet hit the microphone. And, you know, a majority of my argument would be no. But they went with the neck impact, and it's just the math don't math with that.
All right, this is for Nate.
Jordan Henshaw has some good counterpoints to your theory. Will you have an online discussion with him? And how do you explain the lack of a reaction equal and opposite to the shape charge direction?
I think the circuit board and the battery are the equal and opposite. And as a person that's engineered CO2 machines, high pressure vessels, like I have patents on CO2 equipment. Like I understand it intimately. I know with the restrictions of the gas, the type of valves that would need to be, the vessels that would need to be, you know, concealed, and it's not possible. It's a good theory on a glance, but the deeper you get into it and you try to make it work from beginning to end, it just becomes more and more difficult to make it, you know, replicate all the things that we saw.
And for anyone that's unfamiliar, Jordan Henshaw he has a YouTube channel as well, but he has the thought process that it was some kind of like pneumatic air compression that had like, because he actually took the course from Mike McCash to do like the squibs and all that stuff to like if he was to fake it. So that's kind of his angle. And he and John go back and forth quite a bit.
So is his that it's like a fake death?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a fake death attempt. He focuses more on the actual like squib part of it, the fake blood and everything. Troy Lyons, thanks for the super. If you look at the hands on the funeral, you see a scar in the same spot under the makeup. I did see like what looked like maybe like a darker spot with makeup on it, but yeah, I mean it's hard to tell.
You gotta explain to me why his hands are so small.
The only way I can explain it, and I'm not saying that I can, but the only way you could explain it is if they had a really wide angle lens that kind of like curved. That's the only way I can explain it. Other than that, no.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is Valhalla.
Don't ops plan stories. Maybe Charlie's chest was expected to be blown out by a 30-06, but the charge misfired. They stuck with the story. Maybe. Again, we talked about potential of, you know, maybe the shooter just missed and you got a backup. I don't know. It's not bad to have a backup to, you know, a shooter. To John's point, we've had quite a few assassination attempts where they missed. So,
all right, this is a good one. This is 5.7 by 28 from under the black seat. I've heard a lot of people say this one. It fits audio and evidence. So when you see the chair fall down, you see what looks like, you know, maybe a bullet hole or something under the chair coming up, and people are saying that maybe it shot up through that seat into his neck. I know 5.7 can be armor piercing, so maybe theoretically it could do that. But my thought process is based on where he's sitting, it would have had to go through his legs first. So I just don't put a lot of weight in that. All right, this is Nate.
The Nekak from behind photos looks like their black char on the necklace near his shoulder neck area. I didn't see that. I saw it on the hands. Maybe I was looking at the hands when we saw that, but char on his neck, on the neck.
Let's see. So really quick in chat, I don't know how many people have seen which video and that kind of stuff and which images. Put a 1 if you've seen any images that look like he got burnt, whether it's his shirt or his chest or his hand. Put a 1 if you've seen something where he got burnt, and put a 2 if you don't think he got burnt at all. I'm very interested to see what you guys think.
I think he did from stuff I've seen. But.
All right, Nate.
There was a guy in a red shirt with comms in his ear, 150 feet in front of where Tyler shot from. I found it in the live stream that day. We'd have to see what you're talking about. Could just be a security guard, not sure.
Let's see. Carrie Burns, thanks for the super. Savannah Barbiri, thanks again. We saw the video of Charlie from the back. However, isn't there a video when he is on the ground?
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it.
And I think, so correct me if I'm wrong, Candace, I don't know if you'll ever see this, but you said that you saw the video on a FaceTime and you took a screenshot. That's where we see these images from. I don't know if you actually own or have the physical video yourself, but a lot of people are asking if you do have it, if you would release it or why you haven't released it. But based on the angle, so like, let me show this here again really quick. So based on this angle, I don't know. I mean, if this isn't zoomed in, which I don't know if it is.
That is zoomed in.
Okay. Well, because you can see the little FaceTime square there.
Yeah.
So I think this is all she saw on that video, and he's sharing it, but we don't know how much you can see underneath it. So we don't know if you can see the security team afterwards and that kind of stuff. It might be too high. I'm
just assuming from that 4K camera that's up behind Charlie. Yeah. I got to imagine that 4K camera has full fidelity of everything that was going on down on the ground because it's angled down at Charlie, right? From the top of the head.
Wide. Yeah. Yeah. And probably a decently wide lens as well, right? To catch the action.
There's that at least TPUSA has it for sure, or the FBI, I guess, at this point.
Let's see. Next two are you.
Keep up the great work. The world is watching. Thank you from Australia. Thank you, Cassie. And TJ says, Nate Dogg, what's up? No, great pod. Nate, Matt, and John. Can't wait to see John's recreation. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service to the country and the truth. Yeah, I'm excited to see it too as well.
See, Love My Liberty. Thanks for the super. And Robert Kelly as well. Nate.
Six's mom, how many people do you think are involved? Can it be small? I think there are so many videos we haven't seen. The no blood is the tell. Aloha. For me personally, I think how many people are involved? Quite a bit. Maybe not tactically on the ground, but we know from, just the weird shit with George Zim and the curly-haired guy turning around cheering. And then you've got all the people that were on Twitter and X and Discord talking about where Charlie was going to get killed a week beforehand. For me, I think there's 100% multiple people involved, and then there definitely was some type of high-level actor involved. I will not budge on that, whether it's our greatest ally or some Soros-backed hit. I have no idea, but I believe that there was professional involvement and multiple people involved. I don't know where you guys are at on that.
I think that there would have to be coordination between certain groups of people, and the more research that we find on TPUSA and the people associated with them, I think that they have the capability to make it a very high-level hit. Whether it's domestic or foreign.
The money for it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And the people in place. So, small town KS girl, Kansas City, maybe. Why wouldn't they have the shape charge facing towards the face of the device so the mic could be placed flat on his chest?
It's the space constraints. Again, I think that led me to believe that's why they mounted the mic so strangely on its almost on its side. Magnetic clasp underneath the collarbone. I think that they probably had instructions to mount it in such a way, and in a 45-degree angle, kind of face towards his center mass. It wasn't something that was typical. So either it was just a complete coincidence or they mounted it that way, on a reason. It was bothering Charlie that day. You can see him fiddling with it earlier in the day. But when your audio guy puts a mic on, you're not going to move it. You're not going to question what he did. You're going to assume he put it in the right position to get the best sound. So.
All right, Valhalla, the next 5 are yours.
Cash will say that Charlie was burping when hit. Cash Patel. Okay. New and Dangerous says, how are they going to blame the exploding device on a bullet if no hole in the t-shirt? Well, again, that exploding device is going towards his sternum, not towards his shirt, and under John's theory. So Omara says, have you ever considered that the people who did consider themselves to be artists, some of the complexity could have been for style points? Just a thought. Well, I think when you talk about him getting shot in the throat right as he's about to ask a very divisive question regarding, I don't want to say it on our YouTube channels because we could just get shut down immediately for using the word, but I think there could potentially be some theatrics to that. I think that was kind of popular theory early. What do you guys think about that?
They really pushed that initially.
Yeah.
And said the bullets had engravings in it that were in line with that. So, yeah. Is that part of the agenda? I mean, I'm still waiting for court. If they come out with a 8K version of, Tyler Robinson taking the shot, with it, I don't know. They might. I don't know.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it seems like they really tried to push a very specific slant at the very beginning. And that's one here.
Charlie Kirk had damage to his hands. How do you explain everyone around him not getting hit with the shrapnel? Love the show. Great job. Well, I think we kind of saw shrapnel flying all over the place, didn't we? Isn't that kind of the idea of all those pictures earlier, John?
Yeah, exactly. And it was the battery was, you got to have density, right? To create, you have velocity and density. This is what gives you a power to create, a wound. And the densest object inside of the battery case was, or the inside the microphone case was the battery. And I think we're pretty sure where that battery ended up. Outside of that, it's just small plastic fragments. Even if they did struck somebody, they would probably not even notice it.
Let's see. This is a great show, TriggerSmart. Fantastic, smart guests. Yeah, I think they've done great.
Real quick aside, just thought of something to John's point with the frag. Guys, skin only takes about 10 foot-pound pressure to actually penetrate. And so when you're thinking about something like plastic exploding from a device, very, very easily could, in that very first initial spot, it's got enough force to hit him from here to here. And potentially, somebody 20 feet away is actually not going to be that affected by that plastic frag. So just something to think about. It doesn't take that much to penetrate your actual skin.
John, your explanations are very concise and logical. Thank you. Let's see. It looks like someone's asking if your wife has ever recorded an album.
My wife?
Yeah.
Not my wife. My wife doesn't sing.
Yeah, my wife, she was, that's actually how we met. She had a deal with RCA in Nashville, but she turned it down because they were going to slave her, and she realized it early. And so she decided to go a different route. But she has a band with the lead guitarist Element 80 from Texas, Bray Woods. You can find her on YouTube. She makes great music. She's a great vocalist.
Nice. Let's see. So did this kill him, or did they finish him off on the ground for Valhalla?
I don't foresee them finishing him off in front of 3,000 people. God, I hope that wasn't the idea. But again, we can't see what happens under the table. But also probably not, because there's no blood on their hands. And if you're going to finish him off, you'd probably be doing that physically. So I don't think so. I think he was dead by the time he hit the ground.
Shannon Thailand, thanks for the super. A wish list for road mics. Never bow, go max. Let's see. Person shot back. Imagine attaching an explosive to a loose moving shirt. This is a good question. Can you really imagine attaching an explosive to a loose moving shirt?
Well, it's not, when you hear explosives, you think like a radial, like frag explosion is going to send, energy all directions. If you watch most people test these shaped charges, like they're blowing holes in steel and they don't even have a counterweight on it. They just set this thing on the steel and poof, it blows a hole in it. Like it doesn't need a lot of counter force. It's not like you're shooting a projectile. You're not shooting, a high, heavy, object into something. You're creating a high energy, high velocity jet of gas and fragments. It may be only a quarter gram of actual fragmentation that's going through this jet. So it doesn't take like something to hold it down. It's not like a traditional explosive.
Let's see. Greg, thanks for the super. That was hilarious. Ilan Omar sleep mask is an eye patch. Get it? She's a pirate.
Oh, okay.
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 Maybe next time have Coach Colin too, just for fun. Yeah, we'd love to have Coach Colin on. Let's see. Nate.
Snob says, say we get the proof Tyler didn't do it. It's obvious this administration isn't interested in investigating the matter. Who's going to bring the justice? one of my biggest problems with this with the Tyler Robinson trial is we know a bunch of other people are involved in this. Like, people knew about this and were on Twitter talking about it a week prior, and there's zero effort and zero movement by the FBI, as far as we know, to bring justice to anyone else involved. So even if you do, to your point, let's say you convict Tyler Robinson, okay, well, what about all the other fucking people that are involved? We're just going to say whatever? That's what it seems like at this point we're going to do.
This one too.
Hello, favorite YouTubers, and the one person who got me on Twitter, Millennial Sorry. I'm so glad you did this. John, your humility and earnest nature is absolute treasure. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Hella.
See, great live episode. Let's see. Nate, next two.
Why would they want us to see this if they wanted CK eliminated? They could have taken him out anywhere. I think a lot of people talk about this too. You know, if I was going to do this, I wouldn't do it publicly. I would get his pattern of life. I would get his entire schedule. You know, you'd follow him and know exactly where he's going to be at a time where he's most vulnerable, where nobody's going to see, where there's no cameras. Like, if that's how you're going to want to do it. But if, again, you want to have some theatrics involved, I don't know. Gooch Parm Actual says, Nate Dogg, what's up, my guy? Thank you, brother.
Let's see, Earl's daughter. There's a witness testimony in the legal document that states there were ambulances at the event. So everything I've heard says there wasn't. There were EMTs. But
EMTs, yeah.
And I've seen tons of aerial footage and everything. I haven't seen ambulances anywhere. Let's see, Nate.
Oh, I was joking about Wes Watson. Yeah, Wes Watson's struggling. You guys might know who Wes Watson is. That's my other YouTube channel, but yeah. Yeah, he's having a rough time right now.
And that's yours as well.
ATZ, thank you very much for the generosity. I know it was lightly touched on, but did anyone from front row report debris hitting them? Would that be possible with a projectile direction? I don't know if anybody, I do know one person who's in the front row that I've talked to. He had some interesting things to say about the audio, what he thought it sounded like, but he didn't mention anything about projectiles. But we can kind of see frag flying around. Like, I've seen a bunch of different pictures and videos now. I didn't see any of that until recently, until you guys showed me it in Baron and Ian's video. So
it's pretty consistent. It's hard to ignore.
And also, what would all this plastic frag shit everywhere? Why? Like, why? If it's just a 30-06 gunshot to the neck, why is that happening? Is my question.
I'm morally obligated to disbelieve the FBI.
Yep.
And real quick, guys, if you're still on here with us, we appreciate you watching. If you guys can hit that like, that'd be awesome. It helps out the algorithm. This is Nate.
Question: if his heart was actually stopped first, then he wouldn't. I can always say decerbrate posture, would he? And we see it clear happen before a sheet of blood. Well, no, because decerbrate and decorticate posturing is a neurological thing that happens, not has anything to do with blood, right? So we're talking about like decorticate posture. That's a injury to the actual cerebral cortex or the upper brainstem. Which is I think we didn't talk about that as one of the interesting things, because even the 30-06 didn't really make sense for the decorticate posture that we saw, because he gets hit like down in the C4, the C5, and you wouldn't have even expected any damage to the cerebral cortex. John, did you talk about that? You talked about decorticate posturing.
Yeah. I glanced over
that, right?
Yeah, that was like when I was the inconsistencies of a 30 off or any rifle impact to the neck. Like, you couldn't explain that. And I think that's why we get like the C1 that's just completely unbelievable. That's the only way that you could possibly say that he would have that physical reaction. But you look at the angle of the entry and where the entry wound was, like, it's just like magic bullet territory. But if they had a physician kind of like in on the know, like, they would know, like, hey, the only way you can explain his physical reaction if we try to like pull off a magic bullet and say his C1 was impacted, you could possibly say that it was close enough to cause, the shock wave to cause that damage.
The cavitation somehow was big enough from the C5 to come up and hit his brainstem. Maybe.
Yeah.
But that's about the only thing I could wrap my head around as a maybe explanation.
We know high energy explosions do it all the time. Like, there's been people killed with full body armor on, no no piercings, full armor,
Yep.
helmet, everything intact. And, they died because of the shockwave. It's that powerful. When it hits soft tissue, like it does damage to the internal. You're a big bag of liquid. So, that cavitation is a force of a shockwave through liquid. And it doesn't have to be a ballistic impact. It can be a shockwave from an explosion, and it causes the same amount of damage. So, it's a lot more likely that that sort of physical reaction could be caused from a high energy explosive than a 30-6 impact to the neck.
All right. So for anyone watching, I think we should have Jon Bray start some merch, and it should say the t-shirt should say, "You're a big bag of liquid." What do you think? Mark Hatteen, thanks for the super. Check out the work of Frank Bray. Never heard of him. It was a real gunshot, lateral recording his muzzle to target panned by computer. It would leave the audio trace. Again, with this particular situation and the audio recorded on different devices, there had to be something physically traveling across that courtyard to be picked up on all the different devices that way with a Mach cone from the supersonic round. So like faking the audio wouldn't work. Ben Cook, thanks for the super. I heard Charlie's alleged Man of Steel neck stopping at 30-6 was actually due to religious use of Blue Mountain tallow cream.
It's that methylene blue. It's magic.
Oh, man. Sounds like really high quality stuff. I'm going to have to get some. Let's see. Troy Lyons. The video from the funeral, you clearly see wounds on his hand. I've heard it from other people as well. The same hand in photos you showed earlier with damage to them from the back. I'm going to have to look at those again. Let's see. This is Nate. You're muted.
Oh, no.
You're not muted in the program, but we can't hear you. So we'll keep going while we're waiting on that. Let's see. William, thanks for the super chat. Read the Freemason's oath, and you will understand what happened to CK's body.
Yeah.
I don't have any. Nope, no audio still, Nate. You might need to maybe drop and come back in. We'll give Nate a second here. What do you think about this one, John? We can't even prove that he's dead.
I don't know. If he's not dead, they did some fantastic preparation for his acting. Like he's
not happy.
He nailed so many of the physical reactions, and it's just like the way he falls. You see him fall in that like a AV container. It's just it's hard to just like limp dead fall. Your body just has an instinct to kind of like brace itself, and he just hits with just no reaction. Head just bounces off of it. It's tough for me to believe it.
And for you again, John, I don't trust a coroner's report or autopsy. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's highly suspect. The fact that you had the VP flying out and ordering like a special autopsy, it just puts the level of pressure everyone around and involved in it just increased tenfold, and in the future, if they ever want to kind of like wrap it up, it gives them all the means to make it where we never find anything out about it. It's just like the highest level of secrecy got involved as soon as the VP got involved with it.
Well, let's see. That's for Nate. Let's see. Do you think it's possible the FFL used the mic to point the blame towards is real? When people figured it out, it certainly took Candace's focus off of Bridget, which is exactly what they wanted, just thinking. So do you think that Bridget or someone involved with them did this to take the focus off of them? I guess that's the question.
That's like the devil's advocate. If you want it to make it look like a nation state, then using this sort of device would definitely put a lot of pressure on those certain people.
We'll see if we can get Nate back in here. Looks like he's trying to rejoin. Let's see. YSD Films. My prediction is TPUSA folks take the fall soon. Can't let feds in other countries take the blame. Sadly, the whole truth won't come out.
Check. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
We can hear you.
All right. That was weird. My mic just shut off in StreamYard. It was working everywhere else. Oh, well.
I was gonna fuck with you and say no, but we don't want to do that. All right, let's go back to these. Had a couple up here that I skipped to make sure it was for you. All right, that's the first one.
Raymond says, I'll try to quickly upload a 30-second video titled Valhalla VFT to explain what might have been. Okay. Video is uploaded. Well, where? You got to tell us where it's uploaded, dude.
It's just up. Like we know where it is.
It's in the nether. Thank you, though, brother. Appreciate you.
Telekinesis. All right, let's see. Savannah Barbieri. So why not show the bottom part of the video? Are you talking about the Candace and Terrell video? I think a lot of people are asking that question, but we don't even know if she really has it. Maybe she just only saw it through FaceTime, so we don't know yet. This is Nate.
Damn, Nate's live and no one called me. Yeah, I'm not usually live on Monday. You got to blame TriggerSmart for that. But I did schedule it up 2 hours ahead of time, so you don't really have that many excuses.
And in all fairness, we didn't know we were going to be multi-streaming until right before.
That's true. That's true. But thank you, brother.
Jennifer Lambert, thanks for the super. TJ Cavalier, Matt, found you from Nate, Ian, and Baron. Great work with Frangible Round Video. Real men work in the cold. Love from the great state of Michigan. Yeah. The whole time
it
I was
looks chilly out there.
Mm-hmm. Whole time I was just thinking like those guys are out there in Texas.
Yep.
Let's see. Nate.
Does Erica's mom own a shape charge business? Sus. No, but I mean, her dad definitely founded a company that probably could figure out how to make some shit like that. Raytheon. Raytheon's making way higher level military technology than that. So who knows?
Let's see. Stan Strong, thanks for the super. A video close-up of CK's right side. Okay. When staring at his back in slow-mo, you can see white blur shoot from CK's mid-shoulder blade where Dan Flood's black shirt is backdrop for white blur. In my opinion, is a bullet or his spirit.
Oh, God.
That could be more shrapnel. I mean, everything that everyone says
Yeah.
is a bullet could be shrapnel at this point, right? With
It's
this alleged
unlikely,
theory.
you guys, you're going to see a bullet being captured by a 30 frame per second iPhone camera. So it's more likely that it's something like debris than an actual bullet.
All right, Nate. Oh, I think Nate froze.
Oof.
Are you still there, John?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm here.
I think it might be your internet, possibly. We can still hear you.
The hell?
Oh, he just dropped. We'll give him a second to come back in here. Let's see. Mima, 8453. Thanks for the super.
Weird.
You must be onto something.
Technology. Yeah. As soon as you ask me a question about the FBI, my internet goes down.
All right, that one's for you.
What do we know about what do we know? The Department of Justice, FBI, Trump lying about Charlie Kirk. Even if a sleuth cracks the case wide open, we would get the same lies from the bosses. Trump, Epstein were pals. Don't need files to smell that stench. Here was my biggest, I don't know if you guys notice this. My biggest red flag was the week and two following the assassination when no one on the right, in the mainstream media, TPUSA, the White House, not a single person questioned anything.
Yeah.
They immediately all accepted it and said, yep, this is some left-wing trans furry. He acted completely by himself. Case closed. Don't worry about it. Stop asking questions. And when I saw that from everyone outside of, independent YouTubers and people like John and stuff, like that to me was the big red flag of like, why is no one else that was actually close to Charlie Kirk concerned about this?
Yeah. And again, like the venue was lined up right away, ready to go. Pyrotechnics, everyone across the board, every pastor, minister, singer, performer, everyone was all just ready to go. Very strange. All right, this is you as well.
So they take Charlie Kirk to a level 3 trauma center further away than the Orem community. Hospital that is a level 1. So security incompetence or had folks ready to cover up at I can never say this. Timpanogos. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, that was another bizarre one. And all of this, guys, if you've got any military guys as part of your security detail, which I don't know all their backgrounds. I know Brian Harpo, I think he was law enforcement. Any military operation or training exercise, even you would ever do, like knowing which trauma centers are where and having that pre-planned, pace plan as part of your medevac sequence, like that's like the baseline. This is like the basics, and the fact that they didn't have this planned out correctly, or maybe they did, and maybe they purposefully took him further away to a lower level of trauma care. I mean, it's either incompetence or nefarious. That's it. It's one of the two. So, but yeah, that's low level stuff, guys. Like knowing what trauma center to go to. This is just basic stuff.
Let's see. Tammy Stevens, best collab I've seen in a while. At John, dude, you are brilliant. Thank you for your dedication to truth. I know. Let's see. I know you'll find it. Stephanie, wow, Stifle, 50 cal. I've heard this a lot. PCP airgun with 22 cal. FMJ BT loading backwards in a tampon. Creates the same entry wound and would not exit because of round helicopters.
Problem is, a 22 round doesn't create cavitation, like basically hardly any cavitation in the body. So you'd have to explain some type of cavitation in the neck. That was always my big thing. It's with like a pistol round or a 22 round from the start. One is it sounds like if it's a gunshot, supersonic gunshot went off, and two, you just don't really, you don't see that doesn't look like a 22 round when it comes to the wound. I know what you guys think about that. But
just the size of it alone.
Yeah, it's so big too. That entrance wound is way too big for a 22 round. It's too big for a 30-06 round, to be honest. But if we're being, calling balls and strikes.
All right, for Nate.
Dr. Wang Lang holds the key. Dr. Wang, that's just an inside joke on the channel.
Let's see. I love you three together. Thank you. Let's see. This is Nate.
We'll know if anyone gets anywhere close to provable facts. The last anyone will know of him is he caught up in ICE raid and dragged into a van. Okay.
Stefan, has the defense team reached out to John? And if not, why? Or have you reached out to them, John?
Oh, I've tried to reach out to everyone. I've heard nothing. I wouldn't expect so. It's not, they're building narratives. They're not trying to find the truth. It's a kangaroo court. So
I've heard the same from others too. There's other people with a lot more information, and no one's getting anything back from defense.
Yeah, and that's bizarre, isn't it? Isn't there a lot of really knowledgeable people out there? If you were the defense, you would want to talk to. I don't know. I think I would if it was my defense.
Let's see, James. Thanks for the super. Does Archive have the higher frame rate videos redacted with them? Yeah, let's see who said that 500 feet per second objects were captured moving. Legit. Do you know about that, John?
Yeah, I think there's some misinformation about Dolby Vision, like being 240 frames per second. The new iPhones can film 120 frames per second, but there's not a cell phone that can video 240 frames per second. And that's kind of like they extrapolated that 500 feet per second by assuming that the video was 240 frames per second. So if anything, if you use their same math on the reality that at most it could be 120 frames per second, it's a 250 feet per second. And that's like right on the threshold of being able to penetrate flesh.
Let's see. Incredible stream today, guys. Thank you. Thanks, guys. This was very helpful and well worth the time. Let's see. Original Made in America. Candace Owens saw video over FaceTime. Terrell wouldn't give her the footage. Yeah, that's what I thought.
But why would they? I mean, we know that they showed it to her. Why would they show it to her but not give it to her? Isn't that fucking weird?
Yeah.
Well, someone else had a good question too. If he showed it to her, did he not give it to the FBI yet? So did he show it to her before he gave it to the FBI, or vice versa? Like what?
And how's he get on his phone to FaceTime it to somebody? Like, what is he like?
Yeah, good point. He had to have pulled that off of the camera,
which means
and
he has it off the card, right?
Which means he has it on his fucking laptop.
Yeah, which means he could have just easily emailed it to her or put it on the drive. Like it's just
and modified it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it means they have it, and it's just sitting there.
Let's see. This is Nate.
If Colonel Mustard in the parlor with a candlestick. Yeah, that's about where we're at with this one.
This is you as well.
Tyler didn't know he was being framed. This is kind of an interesting one, right? Is like the Patsy idea. Like why would he go down with the ship? And what I try to tell people is like if you're looking at this like an MK Ultra type thing, which I am, like you've got this guy bought into the cause. Like the Patsy's bought into the cause, and it's like, but at this point, once he's framed and everything goes off, well, he could say he's innocent, but that doesn't mean they're going to find him innocent, right? At least that's my take on this. Is like you had whether it's Tyler Robinson or whoever that Patsy on the roof is, like he's bought into it. I don't think he thought that he was going to be the killer, but the killer. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that are. You kind of have to explain why he's willing to take the fall, I guess.
That's the biggest thing to me. Like he's going to be in court on Friday. Like I said, we're going to be covering it live. I'm going to have a lawyer on and some people on the field, possibly doing interviews and stuff there at the courthouse. But yeah, if people framed me and I'm in court and I'm looking at the death penalty, I'm going to be like, I didn't do it, right? Like, so
that's what he's saying.
Guilty.
But he's saying that. He's saying I didn't do it, right? So far, he's saying I'm not guilty.
Was that official? I didn't hear that yet.
He hadn't pleaded, so
he hasn't pled guilty.
Yeah.
Okay. This one's for you, John. I'm a refrigeration tech. Certain refrigerants absolutely can cause the explosive force to do what happened to Charlie. I've seen 2.6 ounces of R290 detonate a room.
Yeah, R290, like 390 psi. It's not a detonation. You're trying to create like a controlled expansion. So a detonation would go in all areas. And again, that R290, you have a vessel, stainless steel vessel. How do you trigger it? You can't just like make it randomly explode. You have to have a gate valve or an actuated valve. Like there's mechanics involved. And when you have expanding liquid, compressed liquid, you have like frost. It has a Linden frost effect, right? You have a expanding liquid boiling away. It creates a lot of cooling. You're going to have like condensation and any of the tubing will be cold and frosty. Like we don't see any of that. We see a little bit of gas escaping from the shirt, and that's about it.
All right, let's see. Next, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next 5 are you, Nate. Let's see. Did it not pop up? There it goes.
Lauren says, I could swear I remember the day of the shooting. Fox News said Charlie was delayed in starting because of mic issues. I don't know. I didn't hear about that. But I mean, that wasn't something I really was paying attention to at the time.
But that also would have been the PA mic, not the wireless mic on his shirt.
Good point. Thoughts on the shooter disassembling his gun? I mean on the roof after the shot in the 3 seconds, did he disassemble a 30-06 in 3 seconds from the time the shot went off to the time he starts running? No, he didn't. That's not how it works. Even on like a Mauser, I don't have a Mauser. I've got Brownings, but as far as I know, Mausers are easier to take down than some 30-06s, but it's still multiple screws, and you're going to have to take a decent amount of time to disassemble that thing. It's not like an AR-15 where I can just collapse it and put it in a backpack.
And that's a no one there. Oh,
sorry. Did the blast make his neck break? Is that why his head fell to the side like we saw? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, I think at that point he's just. I think he died pretty much instantly. Anatomically is what it looks like to me. So could just be that his body is falling over limp. Life is driving. Live footage revealed a signal that cut out of his live stream at the moment as shot. Could this be a remote signal for a shape charge? Yeah, that was you brought that up. I haven't seen that. Video. Maybe John, I don't know if you've seen the Life is Driving.
No, that's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it either. Sorry, Beck.
That would be a great question for Kelly Raybon. She's in the circles that know about all that stuff and talk about these quite a bit of it. So excess spaces where people just kind of sit and talk and hang out, and they talk about this kind of stuff almost every night. So if you're interested in that Beck build, definitely go check them out on X. All right, let's see. This is actually really interesting. So what about the guy who was asking Charlie the question before he got shot? That was
Hunter Kozak.
Yeah,
he's real fucking sketchy too, man.
And he was part of something called UnF America. And he would go around and follow Charlie Kirk around and harass him at all his different locations. And he was also in the town hall asking Erica Kirk a question after Charlie was killed. And from what I understand, it was not pre-planned. So she didn't know Hunter was going to be asking the question. So they kind of set her up too. Kind of strange. Let's see. Nate?
He exhibited deliberate posturing moves that the brainstem was able to have that reaction, so his heart couldn't have stopped first. I think John tried to clarify just addressing the flow. Maybe I misunderstood your question when you asked it the first time. I was assuming you meant that he couldn't have had decorticate posturing, which is what we saw, because his heart had stopped. But that's not necessarily the case. Keep in mind, guys, your heart actually can beat autonomously away from your brainstem and your nervous system. So even if you get shot in the neck and it severs your spinal cord, your heart can continue pumping. So those things aren't necessarily anatomically the same with an injury like that. I might be misunderstanding your question still, so sorry if I'm not getting that right. But
all right, so the next four are yours.
Surf says, I knew they were trying to block me. DR with 2 points trajectory. Okay.
Not sure.
Thank you. Bobby says, got the package today, Nate. Thank you, man. The bride has taken the beige one. I appreciate it, or I'm glad you got that. Sent Bobby some merch package because he just got engaged recently.
Congratulations.
We talked about this one earlier. I don't know.
Okay, so that is all the supers. Now, I don't know how you guys feel. Do you want to keep going? Should we call it?
I can do a couple more minutes, and then I got a jet for dinner. Want to do like 5 minutes for random questions?
Yep, let me go see if there's some good ones mixed in that weren't supers. Oh, that's a good one. Why would Mikey call JD Vance right after Charlie was killed? Bizarre.
Did he?
And yeah, apparently. And why would Nicki Minaj call him an assassin during the TPUSA event? And why would Erica Kirk say that he reminds her so much of Charlie?
That's so weird.
It's all very interesting.
I didn't know that. Mikey McCoy is highly suspicious to me as well, just based off his behavior. Because I don't know, man. Like, I've been shot at, and that's not how anyone reacts to being shot at ever. Like, not a single person I've ever seen shot at reacts the way Mikey McCoy did. So, yeah.
Let's see. That's a new one that came in for you.
Killer Live tonight. Thank you, Chief.
Someone says it's always the spouse.
Well, you know, it's crazy. We were talking about this. I forget who I was talking to this about. Everybody like immediately was like, you can't talk about Erica Kirk. But if you think about any murder ever, who's the very first suspect? It's always the spouse, right? Not that the spouse always does it, but that's the first person any investigation is going to look into in a murder is the spouse, because it's statistically the most likely.
And guys, real quick, I know some people are dropping off. It's getting later. Make sure you guys hit that like on the way out, and make sure you subscribe to Valhalla VFT if you haven't already. And if you're on his side, if you want to subscribe to TriggerSmart, that'd be great. And then Jon Bray, Aaron, is on X. He's also on YouTube, but not as active. But if you want to debate him or look him up, he's on X. And then also, what's the website again, John?
BlueMountainFarmOK.com.
So it's Blue
I
Mountain
still got that
Farm.
pinned in mine.
Yep, Blue Mountain Farm OK as in Oklahoma.com. And that's for healthcare products and wellness products. And they're getting rave reviews on the tallow, apparently, in chat.
I'm gonna look at your stuff, man. I love that type of product. I love tallow. I might go buy, buy some from you after this.
If the shape charge was going right, then how was it supposed to hit his chest? Wouldn't it go out the side?
Diagonal would be.
Yeah, if you look at the mic, how the mic is mounted on them, and you'll kind of like see it's kind of like a 45-degree angle. So the charge will come out this direction. Especially if you watch it frame by frame, you can really see the microphone clasp kind of gives you the direction that the mic turns. And if you watch that microphone clasp, you can see how it turns and kind of expands out from them. So it gives you a better idea of like the direction of the force.
And then you have this one. Out of lithium batteries, let's see, all of our lithium batteries are bombs. All they have to do is hack your phone, make the battery power dump, and overload your phone will blow up like a grenade. Guarantee it's exploding, Mike.
Well, lithium batteries are dangerous. That's why you can't have them in your airport luggage. I don't know if there's technology for that out there, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
If you want to go down a really dark rabbit hole, look up the 15-minute war.
15-minute war?
15-minute war. Talks about how fast our enemies could take us out using technology and things like what this person spoke about. It's pretty interesting. Let's see, for Nate.
Does the shape charge make a loud sound, or is it more like a silent explosion? Well, it's not going to be, as far as I understand, it's not going to be anywhere near as loud as like just an open cased IED going off, right? John can probably be more of an expert on this, but as far as I understand, the shape charge is going to actually be, it's going to make some sound, but it's not going to be as loud as a regular explosive. Is that right, John?
Yeah, it's not wrong on that. It's not very directional, and it sends the majority of its sound goes the direction of the jet, and so the people around it, it would sound like a large firework, like an M80.
Let's see. I have heard maybe the defense has or will agree to the fact that this was a gunshot death up front before the trial. What or why? I think that's from Barron. I think Barron was going through everything, and he basically, it seemed like they accepted the fact that it was a gunshot, or I think he was questioning why the defense isn't like, how do you know it's a gunshot in the first place?
Yeah.
Right. So I think that was the main focus there. And of course, you know, the death theory. Yeah, actually, what if the microphone was just a squib and it squirted blood onto his neck? What do you think about that, John?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't like the squib thing. It's just there's so much that he did right about dying. I just don't see anyone being that great at dying.
Yeah, his reaction looks like someone who just got either shot or hit with an explosive, for sure. And also, I think me and Matt, I think we were talking about before the stream, it gets real complicated for like, okay, let's say he faked his death. Now what? Where does he go? Is he going to go live in Israel? He's 6'6". He's very, very distinct looking. Like, where do we hide him? Why? Right? He's he's so famous. Like, why? Maybe if they were going to kill him and they told him that, and like, I don't know. It gets so complicated. Not the event itself, but the after becomes very, very complicated.
Let's see. Tammy Stevens, thanks for the super. Let's see. Earl's daughter, Mommy Sleuth here. Case and the case number. Officer Brian Schultz, 11-25-25. Witness stating ambulances were there. They may have been there. Yeah, they may have been there, but they weren't close to where Charlie was. If they were. Let's see. Thanks for the super. What about person with white shirt on the rooftop? Is this the Kelly Raybon thing that she showed to Chris Martinson? I've seen that. She showed it to me, and it's pretty interesting. I don't know if you've seen that, Nate, but there's a video of the Sorensen Center, which actually, let me see. Do I still have this? Yeah, I still have it up. Let me pull this up really quick. So this is the 3D map. So there is a video where there's someone somewhere in this area, which is the same area that Chris Martin said.
That's where I thought he probably got shot from if there was a second shooter, was more of this angle.
Yep, and that's what Chris Martinson was, that's his whole theory. And somewhere on here. So she has a video from, what's the guy's name? Adam Bartholomew, where he's actually up on this somewhere over here, right? And in his video, you can see clearly a white figure, just it's not a speck, it's more than a speck, that's moving, and then it disappears on video, as though there was a person in a white, shirt or outfit up there.
I'll just say, when you're talking about like actually seeing people from like this type of distance, that's not that far, right? If you're talking about go back to where he would have been with the camera. I mean, we're talking about what, 50 yards at the most. Yeah. Everyone on this roof would be able to see somebody up there on that bright white roof. I mean, it would be so hard for you to not be seen. But again, I'd have to see the footage. I haven't seen anything that showed a shooter in that area or potential shooter in that area. But again, I'd have to see it. But I would say it'd be very, very hard to not be seen in that spot.
For sure. All right, this is Nate.
what happened to the bullet after hitting him? Apparently it's lodged in his body, or maybe it's a frangible round and it's disintegrated in his body. We don't know, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, without a coroner's report or an autopsy, there's no way to know. Let's see. Who's a good dog? Thanks for the super. Has anyone contacted Candace Owens with this info? If so, what was her response? I have no idea. Nate, have you had any contact at all with Candace?
Well, I think he means John's theory.
Oh yeah, me and Candace, we've been talking. She's helped me a lot actually. She's the fragmentation from the SUV floorboard, the spots on his hands, like a lot of her information has helped me get this further. So I imagine she'll continue to put breadcrumbs out there that I can pick up and work on.
And then, of course, the biggest thing right now is you setting up to actually recreate or try to recreate this.
Yeah.
If you can recreate this, whew, that's going to be spicy.
Yeah, hopefully the ATF don't come bust in my door.
Yeah, right. We probably shouldn't talk about that. Actually, John's not going to recreate it.
We were just kidding. Just kidding, everyone listening. Let's see. What did they give Tyler to be the scapegoat?
I think you just get in too deep. And then, you know, if you ever seen how like prosecutors work, they put you under immense pressure and then they like good guy, bad cop, good cop, you know, bad cop tells you you're going to the firing squad. Good cop comes in and says, hey, you work with us. We'll give you, you know, life. We'll give you a minimum security. You know, you'll have a posh life. You'll be able to play video games or whatever it may be. Like it's just, they put you up against a wall and then they give you an out and then they ask of you. And so that may be his ask. So, you know, he may be up against firing a squad or cozy life in prison where he can play video games. And that may be acceptable to him. We don't know.
But also, what if he says I'm innocent? I didn't do it. They set me up.
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll probably be hanging himself from a sheet in short order.
Or the jury just goes, we don't believe you, and they convict him, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, just because he says he's not guilty now, that didn't mean anything, right? And to John's point, like once you're in this deep, which again, if he was somehow involved, right, and he's the patsy, it's like it's real hard to then be after the fact, be like, but I didn't do it, I promise.
Let's see. Robert Pollard says, ask John about the timing of the sound of the shot explosion. It seems to me if the sound originated 200 yards away from the camera shooter, that was about 140 yards, actually, not 200 yards. It should have been delayed, but it wasn't.
Yeah, every camera angle you look from is different. It's so muddy. The waters are so muddy.
Hold on a second, though. I see people talking about this like, okay, well, there would have been this offset of the sound of the gunshot and the actual shot itself. And we're talking about 140 yards, guys. Like the speed of sound is what, 1,100 feet per second. The bullet's moving at 2,400 feet per second. Like you're talking about like at 100 yards, 140 yards. It's snap hit, dude. It's like the gunshot's going to go off. It's going to hit him basically immediately. And you're going to hear the sound. It's going to be like so fast that the human brain's not really even going to connect the dots and the difference in timing from that. If the shot came from 800 meters away, now you're going to see a huge difference in time of impact to the time you're going to finally hear that sound go off. But from a shot that close, it's going to be pretty much, shot bang.
Let's see. So this person here is Debbie Brand. Thanks for the super. Hey, all. FYI, Adam Bartholomew is Life is Driving. Okay. So basically the angle we were just talking about up on that overlift or the overhang, this on top that was seeing the white guy on the white roof. They're saying that video from that angle looking over everything is Life is Driving video. So I have seen that one then, yes. And there was this, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this yet, but this was released and it has a lot of new footage that people haven't seen. So
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's a few journalists got together. It's the Salt Lake Tribune that's on their channel. But these journalists got together and pulled their footage from the professional news agencies and stuff and are kind of like summarizing it and talking about it. You see people with guns. You see, shots and angles I've never seen before.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty interesting. But
then you would expect that they would have this type of footage for when the shot went off.
But will they
There's
release
this
it? That's
many
the question.
cameras everywhere. There's cameras everywhere that we're seeing now. So where's all this footage? FBI has it?
I think people have reached out to them and asked, and either got denied or ignored. But there's even footage afterwards, like during the shot. So you see the shot, but you don't see.
Yeah. Oh shit! What was that? I mean, that's just a dude, probably.
Yeah, because you can. Yeah, you can still carry there, and a lot of people do. Looks like it has a Glock 19 or 17. I can't really tell, but
I'll
nice
tell you
little
guys
setup.
this: if you're ever in a active shooter event, be very, very careful afterwards walking around with your gun like this,
Yeah,
because
bad move.
law enforcement could very easily think you are the potential shooter and schwack you. So be careful with that, please.
So this was interesting. I call this the Sandal Mafia. This guy's out here. He must have. I mean, he must have gotten deployed.
Who the hell are these guys?
I think that's SWAT. That's SWAT. They got called that are out looking for the dude, or maybe FBI, right? Because they're on the ground looking for the gun and stuff. But you have a couple of sneakers.
Maybe that's one of the guys. The guy in the green shirt had to give his jacket to Kash Patel because he couldn't find his.
See, is there anything else interesting in here? There's just so much. And you see a lot of characters from angles you've never seen them before. And Mike McCash, let me see if I can find it. So there's scenes like this.
Whoa. You haven't seen any of this.
Yeah. So this would be definitely something. I mean, this would be a good thing just to play and review,
Yeah.
maybe
What is this again?
It's let me pull this out. It's the Salt Lake Tribune, What We Saw.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that.
But they got quite a bit of stuff in here. Yep. All right, cool. Let me see if there's any more supers. We did have one more come in. This is for Nate.
Candace says, great guest. God bless. Real manly men. Well, thank you, Candace. Appreciate you.
All right, cool. All right, so if you can, hit that like. Make sure you guys subscribe. Again, make sure you guys subscribe to Valhalla and also John, and I'll put those in the banner down here. So it's Valhalla VFT on YouTube, and then Jon Bray, John Aaron Bray on X. And also, we appreciate everyone being here. We appreciate all the super chats and everything else and all the love for John. And then can you say the website one more time?
BlueMountainFarmOK.com. OK like
Blue
Oklahoma.
Mountain Farm. Yep, BlueMountainFarmOK.com. Have some great products there. And Valhalla, definitely appreciate you coming on with us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Had a great time, man. Great talking to you, John. I was excited about this one since I was able to do the episode, and then Matt hit me up, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was great questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, we hope everyone has a good night, and we'll see you on the next one.